Hello, beautiful people. Welcome to the Sideline Speaks with myself, Brittany Jones, alongside Jason Collins and Kevin Walker, right here on Never Had It So Good Sports Media Network. What's going on, Kate Walker and Jay?
All is well. All is well. Looking forward to another great one. March Madness is here, ladies and gentlemen. So let's have a great one.
Yeah, we got a lot of good stuff to talk about. I'm feeling good tonight, so should be a good show.
Yes, March Madness is absolutely here. But before we get started, that's not going to be our first topic, but we are definitely talking about it tonight. I just want to ask those who are watching and tuning in, thank you for supporting us, absolutely. But if you could please subscribe, like, and comment our YouTube channel at The Sideline Speaks, and also share it out. We would greatly appreciate it. And we are also you can hear us anywhere you listen to your podcast. So Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts. I know Google Podcasts is soon ending, but Spotify, we're also on there as well. You guys ready to talk some sports today?
Let's do it. Let's do it.
Good. It's the only positive because my 70-degree weather went back to 30, so I'm a little tight.
But this time of year is a teaser. It's a teaser this time of the year.
I can't stand March. March is that month. It's just like, why are you here? Make up your mind. All right, guys, let's get started because it is NFL free agency. And it's NFL off season. I always say I love the NFL off season. I think it's one of the best off seasons amongst all the sports. There's just so much drama involved in it. But I want to talk about more specifically these quarterbacks. And I basically want it's just overrated, underrated. That's all this is called. Overrated or underrated. And you tell me why. I'm gonna give you some quarterbacks. You tell me which one you think they are and the reasons behind it. You guys ready?
Yep.
Let's get going. First one, let's see. Let's start with this one. Let's start with a simple one. Let's start with Joe Burrow. Do you think Joe Burrow is overrated or underrated, and why? K-Walk, I'm gonna start with you first.
Yeah, it's hard for me to say he's overrated because he's getting hurt so much, and I think a lot of people will probably say that's why he's overrated because he's been hurt for the last few years. But the contract says he may be overrated as well because he can't stay on the field. But I don't want to say he's overrated. Is properly rated an option, or are we just going to overrated and underrated? Because I think he's properly rated.
I give you the neutral option.
I know sometimes you don't like to change it up. No, you stick to the plan, K Walk. For the sake of the topic in the show, I'll say he's wow. I think he's overrated. I'll say he's overrated because of the fact of the matter is everything I just said. He's that big contract and he can't stay healthy. But when he is healthy, he is unbelievable. So I'm going to say because of the injuries, he's overrated.
You know what, K-Walk? Normally because of that, I would say yes. I agree with you, but it's Joe Burrow.
I know that's what I'm saying.
And the thing is, he got there before, and I think people are actually underrating him because he's injured right now, more than they will overrate him. So I'm going to say he's underrated. We all know his talent. The guy could play lights out. I know I'm taking a different perspective on this one a little bit. The guy could play lights out. He was well deserving of that contract. Remember, he did get his team to that Super Bowl. I think it was his first or second year in the league. It might be a little bit tougher because they could be losing T. Higgins, but boy, is he a young quarterback. He's, to me, one of the most young, talented quarterbacks in the game right now at this moment. And he's in my top 5 at this tender young age of, 24, 25 years old. And no doubt about it. There's no doubt. There is an injury issue, and I can see why most people will say overrated because of that. But because of the talent that he possesses, I'm going to say underrated, and he has shown us. But Jay, your thoughts?
Britt, you make a lot of points. Like, I can't argue with anything you said, but I gotta go overrated here as well. And the only reason why is because I think, and before the injury, I think people were putting him in the exact same breath as they were with Patrick Mahomes. They were like, Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow. Like, these two guys were, right there together, neck and neck. And to me, I think that's a little bit of a slight to what Patrick Mahomes has been able to do in this league at a young age. What's he got? 3 Super Bowls now, or he's got 3 or 2? What does he got,
He's
K
got,
Walk?
he has three, man.
He's
He
got
has
three.
three.
He's got three
Yeah.
Super Bowls right now. They're going for the three-peat next year. And I agree with everything you said about Burrow, but because people want to try to put him in the same breath with Mahomes, that's why I'm going to say he's overrated. He's really, really good, but to me, there's separation between Mahomes and everybody else.
Well, if you put it that way, then yes, I have to say he's overrated. I mean, I wasn't putting him in the same breath as Mahomes. I'll put him in a category of that next tier of quarterbacks because to
Yeah,
me, Mahomes is in a tier of his own. There's
yeah,
no one else that could compete with Mahomes right now. Next tier, I could put him, say Joe Burrow. So
for
yes,
sure.
Jay, and your thoughts, yes, he's overrated. But where I was trying to go with, he's underrated, and I'm sticking to it. I'm just kidding. All right, guys, the next one. Let's see. Let's see if we go a little tougher here. I'm gonna go with Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson, because we've seen two sides of this young man. But which side is the real side? If the real Slim Shady, please stand up. Please stand up. So is he overrated or underrated? Jay, I'm gonna start with you on this one.
Man, this is a tough one, Britt, because the man hasn't, it's been what, 2 years, almost three, since we've really seen what he can do. Obviously, early in his career, he's shown some flashes of being, a top five quarterback in the NFL. Things have changed, and he's been injured. He's been off the field for reasons that we've discussed ad nauseum. I don't know, man. How do you rate this guy? I think for me, I'm gonna say he's underrated, Britt, because I think he's off of everybody's radar right now. And
Mm-hmm.
I think all of us would probably agree that if he can find himself, like if he can find the Deshaun Watson from Houston, he's one of the best QBs in the league. The question is, can he? So he's got some things he's got to work out to try to get back to where he was. I'm going to say he's underrated because the talent is there, but can he put it all together?
Yeah. Which Deshaun Watson is the real one? Like I just said earlier, I don't know. Like you said, the one in Houston, my goodness, he was on track to be one of the best young QBs in the game, and then he was gone for a year, kind of just lost it. Um, but does the Browns coaching staff, do they have enough, similar to a Michael Vick situation, do they have enough to get him where he once was?
Yeah.
I'm not sure. That's a huge question. I'm not sure. I don't know where his confidence is at this moment because the last year, I think, yeah, last year, he just didn't look like himself, look like the Deshaun Watson that we know him to be, that we know his abilities to be. And Jay, you may make a valid point. I think he is off a lot of people's radar. And because you said that, and because that actually made sense to me, and they just got Jerry Judy. I think they paid him a little too much, but that's just my opinion. I don't care what nobody says, although he does have some talent. And they still got Amari Cooper. I'm gonna go with you on this one, Jay. I'm gonna trust
Okay.
you on this one. I'm
Okay.
gonna say he's underrated. But boy, Deshaun Watson, you better not prove me wrong. I'm not playing at all. K
Yeah.
Walk.
Hey, K
Is he
Walk,
overrated,
before
underrated?
you
Go ahead.
go, our Simply Ball Dropping podcast chimed in about Mahomes. He feels like he's underrated, Britt. He's so I mean
I
on
think he's talking
Joe
about Joe
Burrow. Yeah.
Burrow.
Oh,
Yep.
well,
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with
okay.
you. I agree with you. I think it's KSAP. So I agree with you, KSAP.
Yep.
But K Walk, see KSAP, K Walk's throwing me off. K Walk, what's your thoughts on
Yeah,
Deshaun Watson?
I'm gonna stay consistent with just like I did with Joe Burrow. I just think that anytime that you give these guys the amount of money that you have given them, Deshaun Watson fully guaranteed, over $200+ million fully guaranteed. Joe Burrow, highest paid quarterback in NFL history, and these guys can't stay on the field. I think you have to say they're overrated. I mean, that's just why
Right.
you give them the money that you give them.
That's a great point.
When you look
Yeah.
at it, what's the best ability? Availability, and
Availability.
these
Yeah.
guys just aren't able to get to provide that to you. You could be the best player in the world, but if you're not there, it's just like any corporate job. You could be the best employee there, but if you're not there, then you can be out the door. Your key card is going to be deactivated real quick. So I'm going to say these guys are overrated because they're not living up, to that contract and the expectations. So definitely overrated for both Joe Burrow and Deshaun Watson, in my opinion.
I'm not changing my answer, but you made some
Okay,
valid
That's
points.
yeah,
I just
hard to
want to add
that's
to
argue
good.
that,
right
K-Walk.
there. Yeah,
Right,
that's
that
that's
one's
hard
hard
to
to argue
argue
because
right there.
it makes a valid point. All right, next one. Let's see. Let's go with Kyler Murray. He's finally healthy again. Do you think he's overrated or underrated? K-Walk, I'm coming to you first on this one.
I might be biased on this. I can't stand this guy, man.
I
As a
saw
40,
it in K Walk's
yeah,
eyes as soon as you
yeah,
said
man.
Kyler Murray.
Like a little squirrel running around, like a little toddler who stole their parents' cell phone and they're trying to get it back and running away from their parents. That's just how I feel about him. So yeah, this might be a little biased, ladies and gentlemen, but I'm gonna say he's overrated. I mean, I
Mhm.
can make the argument the same as I did with Joe Burrow and Deshaun Watson, is that he's not available either, but and some of his antics as well. I mean, playing video games prior to the game and prior to each game, week in and week out, and him disengaging with his players and with his team. It seemed like he's just a guy that's all about Kyler Murray. He
Mhm.
does, and again, he does put up good numbers, and he's very valuable when he's on the field. But when is that? So I'm going to sound like a broken record, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to sound redundant, but in this case, I'm going to say he's overrated as well. And it might be a little bit more. There's a lot more bias in there with Kyler Murray than the previous two quarterbacks that we talked about as well. Keep that in mind.
Man, Cork, Mighty Mouse overrated. Ooh, Jay,
I
what's
ain't
your
no Mighty
thoughts?
Mouse.
This is
I
a
was trying to
tough
be
one.
nice.
It's a tough one, Britt, because I don't think he's really rated that high. Like, if we start
Hmm.
putting together a list of
Contract.
the best QBs, like, we're not getting to Kyler Murray too quickly. So to me, I feel like maybe I'm going to say he's slightly underrated because no one's got this guy penciled in as a top 15 quarterback in the NFL. But I think he does have talent. And I think if he's in
Right.
a good situation with the right receivers around him, I
Without
actually
question.
think he could be, a pretty effective quarterback. So I'm going to say he's underrated just because I don't think he's not on anybody's short list in terms of best QBs in
Unintended.
the
Unintended.
NFL.
um, this one's a little tough for me. I'm not sure which way to go because you both made valid points, but I'm kind of with K-Walk on this one. I'm not a huge Kyler Murray fan whatsoever. I think he is overrated more. I just feel like when you watch him play, he's a frustrating player. He does have talent. He has lots of talent. But to me, he makes unnecessary throws that he just doesn't need to make at times. Sometimes he scrambles a little too early. I don't know. For some reason, his play is just annoying to me at times. I don't know
You're annoyed.
why. I can't figure it out. You say I'm annoying?
I say if you're annoyed, then imagine how I
Oh yeah,
feel.
yeah, yeah. I was like, dang, K-Walk.
Oh no, I would do that to you.
Yeah, I was just like, I can't, I don't know, I can't put my finger on it. And then there's certain things that came out that just kind of irritated me even more. The fact that they had to, I know it's old guys, but it still bothered me. That you had to put a whole contract clause if you studying film and you doing what you need to do. Like that's kind of annoying. And I you could always redeem himself. So I think this year would be his redemption year for me.
Yeah.
But right now I put him as overrated as well. I don't care what talent he has around him. I mean, he has some decent talent early on.
Mhm.
And he didn't do much with it because of he could throw the ball far, and at times he could sling that football. He really can. But to me, decision making is a big factor in this situation. So I'm gonna say overrated. Next one. Let's see. Let's go with let's go with the guy that just got paid. Baker Mayfield. Is he overrated or underrated? And he got paid pretty decently. Jay, I'm gonna come to you first.
I'm actually going to go overrated here, Britt, and because he just got paid. Like, I think maybe that. I mean, he had a good year last year. I don't want to take
Mhm.
anything away from him, but I think if you take a look over a 3-4 year span, there's a lot of inconsistency there with Baker Mayfield. So yes, he got paid for what he did last year, but can he spin that forward and keep playing at that level? I have my doubts about that. So I'm going to say that right now he's being viewed slightly higher than what I think his talent is. So he's overrated.
I'm gonna make this quick and easy. I think Baker Mayfield is overrated. Yeah, they had a decent year last year. I just for the long term, I don't see it. I kind of feel like I kind of put him in that Jimmy Garoppolo type of tier, that stopgap type of quarterback. And I know they paid him, but I'm like, until you find something better type of quarterback. I don't know if that sounds disrespectful. I don't mean to be disrespectful. He's talented enough to make it in the NFL, but that's just how I've always seen a Baker Mayfield. So I'm going to say he's overrated. K Walk, what's your thoughts?
Wow, I'm going to go the other way. I'm going to go against the
Oh,
grain here, and I'm going to go underrated. I think Baker
Mm-hmm.
Mayfield's probably the most underrated. I mean, there's an argument there. I'm not going to say that could be a topic for another day, but I think he's very underrated. Excuse me. I just think you look at what he's did in Cleveland. Cleveland is Cleveland. The Browns are always going to Brown for whatever
Right.
reason it is. That organization is just that. And you bring in Deshaun Watson and and you see what happened there. They had to rely on Joe Flacco last year to make a run, if you will. But what you look at Baker Mayfield and what he's done, even when he was in I think he was at a small stint with. No, I think he had a small stint with Carolina. Didn't really give him the opportunity, to do his thing there. Had a small stint with the Rams, and then he did an excellent job there, at the latter part of the season last year. And then they brought him in with Tampa Bay, and he led them not only to a division title, which is not saying much. I know that
Mhm.
the NFC South is not. You don't want to run home to mom and say, "Hey, I won NFC South." Your mom was like, "Get out of here with that." But nonetheless, they won it. They hosted a playoff game and they beat your Dallas Cowboys, I believe it was. Right?
No,
No,
my Eagles. Eagles.
your
Eagles.
Eagles. Your Eagles. It was your
Eagles.
Eagles. I'm sorry, Jay. I apologize.
you take a shot at the
Yeah,
Cowboys
no.
on there.
I knew it was one of your
I
teams.
know he
I knew it
tried
was
it,
one of your
right?
teams. Yeah, no,
The
I
way
knew it
he
was one of
said
your
that, like, I'm
teams.
coming for you.
No. I was like, I believe it was, but I knew it was one of your teams. So yeah, and he beat the Eagles in the fashion that he beat the Eagles in. So I think he earned that contract that he got. I mean, when you look around the league,
Mhm.
there weren't too many other. I mean, I guess you could say that he took advantage of. It was perfect timing for him to get that contract because there wasn't a lot of guys out there that warranted that contract, if you will. But I'm going to say he's underrated. I think he has a lot more talent than people give him credit for, and his commercials are awesome as well. Well, at least when he was with the Browns, his State Farm commercials were great. Whatever, State Farm or Progressive, I forget one of those. I think
I
it was
don't know. I
Progressive.
only know the Heisman one.
Yeah.
That's the only one I know is the Heisman one. Everybody else. All right, guys. Next one. Let's see. We got two left. Let's do Trevor Lawrence. Is Trevor Lawrence overrated or underrated? Let's see. Who should I start with? K Walk, I'm gonna come to you first.
Wow, this is the toughest one up to this point thus far. Wow, did I put that blame on that collapse by the Jaguars on him? I think this is one of those ones where I like to tote the fence and say he's properly rated. Okay, I'm going to say he's overrated, and this is not by much, ladies and gentlemen. I have to pick one or the other. I'm going to say he's overrated because he can't stay healthy, and he's had weapons this past season. He's had a ton of weapons with Ingram, with Ridley, with Christian Kirk, with their running back Travis Etienne. So he had a
Mhm.
slew of weapons around him. So there was no excuse there because even going into that season, I say he's going to be outstanding. They're going to make a deep run in the playoffs because of that talent he has around him and because of the progression that he was taking. But he wasn't able to do that, whether it be an injury or whatever the case may be. Just teams figuring him out. Just no adjustment there on his part or the offensive coordinator's part. So with that being said, he didn't live up to the hype. So he's definitely overrated for me. And the more and more I think about it, the more and more I talk about it, he's overrated. I talk myself into it. He's overrated.
I was like, wait, you changed it. Okay. It's
Yeah,
okay.
he's overrated. He's overrated.
I think for me it's the hype. And him not living up to this hype
Right.
to this moment. Now that doesn't mean that this can't change. I feel like this is the one I'm going to end up changing my answer very soon. But right now in this moment, I do think he's a little overrated. I still feel like he has a lot of talent. He just hasn't shown us much right now. And it could be to everything what K Walks has alluded to. Injuries, it could be, what what was going on in Jacksonville. I'm not exactly sure, but he has had the talent around him. I just don't think he's really lived up to the hype. He came
Right.
out, was supposed to be the biggest thing since Tom Brady, I guess you could say. At least that's what it felt like. And fell far below that expectation. So because of that, right now to me he's overrated. Jay?
Yeah, Britt, I agree with you. I think it's about waiting for him to take that next step, right? Like, so I agree. I think he's overrated. And coming out, he was like in the draft, everybody was talking about him like he was a can't miss Andrew
Right.
Luck, Peyton Manning type prospect. And he just hasn't really lived up to those expectations. And not saying that he's played bad, but you keep waiting to see something special. And to me, he keeps coming up short in terms of being special. Not that he can't get there, but to me, he just hasn't been able to get there up to this point. So because of the expectations, because how everyone is just kind of drooling over this guy's talent, but he hasn't really lived up to it on the field, I'm going to say he's overrated as well.
Yeah, and to Jay's point as well. I mean, you make a great point there because coming out of college, a lot of the scouts and a lot of the execs coming out said, and his only Achilles heel was does he love football? How
Yeah.
much does he love
Yeah.
football? I think that was the only negative that I heard about
Yep.
by Trevor Lawrence, and to be real, that's the only thing that I heard negative about him. So you're absolutely right there, Jay.
Well, Sunshine, hopefully he gets it together, Sunshine. All right, last one, guys. Actually, before we go into the last one, for those who are watching us, I know a few people just came in live. If you comment live or if you ask us a question live while we're on the air, we will do our best to read your comment or answer your question. So even if it alters a little bit, that's okay. We'll still do our best to answer your question live.
Since you brought that up, Britt, let me shout out our guy KSAP again, since he agreed with me on one. I'm gonna go ahead and put that one up.
You so annoying for that one, Jay. All right. Well, thanks, KSAP. Okay, I'll read it. Thank you, Jason. Perfectly said on Baker. Make feel good. All right, bet.
Yeah, it does.
All right, last one. Justin Herbert. Justin Herbert is our last one. Is he overrated or underrated? Jay, I'm coming to you first.
It's another tough one, Britt, but I almost look at him kind of in a similar light as Trevor Lawrence. I mean, people are enamored by the arm talent. They keep talking about this guy. He's elite. He's this, he's that. But when is it going to translate into some meaningful wins, like a deep playoff run? Like when is all that talent going to actually come to fruition and mean something? Now, maybe Coach Harbaugh is going to get in there and get things turned around. I don't know. But to this point, just because the expectations are so high and to me they haven't been met, I'm going to say he's slightly overrated.
For me, he's overrated. And and you guys know I was pretty big on him coming out. I was a Justin Herbert fan. But like you said, Jay, are you ever first and foremost, K Walk alluded to it earlier. Jay, you said it earlier. He stays injured for days. I swear he does. Every time you turn around, Justin Herbert got injured. But he cannot say for 1 second he did not have the talent surrounding him. You had Mike Williams when he was healthy. I know he's injury prone as well, but he has been healthy. You had Keenan Allen, Austin Eckler. I'm pretty sure I'm missing a couple people. I know the offensive line at one point was a little fishy. Last year, I tried to give them a pass last year because the coaching to me, the head coach was just incompetent, completely incompetent. And Brandon Staley, I don't think anybody really likes him. But prior to that,
I do now.
Oh yeah, that's right. He's with you guys now, right?
Yeah,
Is he with you guys? Okay.
Yes.
But prior to that, I'm just like it's like people bypass Justin Herbert because of the potential talent. I can't bypass you anymore. You don't get the same hits that a Brock Purdy gets or a Jalen Hurts get or a couple other quarterbacks gets that's been in the league just as long as he has. And he has yet to get as far.
I was side-eyed. I was looking at Jay.
Don't leave that guy out, but you go Purdy and Hurts. I mean,
no, Dak gets left out because Dak is older than all of them. So he gets left out, okay? I'm trying to stay in that 25-year-old range. We need to stop with that. All right,
I tried to wait a second because I thought you were going to say Dak, and then you
about
never
to cause
did.
me to go ham. Don't do that, Jay. I'm about to go ham on you with that Dak Prescott nonsense. Anyway, But what I'm saying is he doesn't get as much criticism as those other guys do who have gotten further and who has achieved more thus far. So right now in this moment, to me, he's overrated. Hardball will hopefully come in and change that for him, but he's overrated. K-Walk, your thoughts?
Britt, you made my point. I was going to say everything you said, but I was going to turn on the other. I think he's underrated because of the fact of the matter. His receivers were his top receivers. Mike Williams and Keenan Allen were never healthy enough for him to actually, live up to the hype. Yeah, he had Palmer. Palmer was even hurt, number 5 from the Chargers. Eckler came into I think he missed the first couple of games of the season, first few games. I think he had at the tight end Everett as well. So, and you mentioned the offensive line. So I don't think he really had enough consistency around him as far as, players. So I'm going to say he's underrated. And now look where all those guys are at. Where's Keenan Allen? Keenan Allen is where? In Chicago. Mike Williams just signed with the Jets. Eckler's in Washington, Everett's in Chicago. So, this guy's going to start all over again, man, to be perfectly honest with you. So I'm going to say he's underrated based off of that. He just didn't have enough around him, enough consistency around him to show his true worth. I know you mentioned he was hurt as well, but I think that if he had those guys around him more consistently, then it would have been a different little outlook for an outcome for Justin Herbert for sure.
See, normally I could agree with you, but again, we go back to expectation, right? If you got all the talent in the world, if you're that type of quarterback, if you're not that game manager type of quarterback, like Cam Newton likes to classify everybody, it seems like, if you're supposed to be on that Joe Burrow or on that not quite Patrick Mahomes, but closer to that level type of quarterback, regardless of how young or old you are, then it shouldn't matter. It's like it shouldn't matter. Wow. When I watch him, sometimes it's decision making. Sometimes it's actually accuracy issues with him. And I understand he's still a young quarterback as well. But like I said, he does not get the same criticism that the other quarterbacks that came out, whether in his class or somewhere around him, gets, even though they got in further. So I get what you're saying, okay, well, but I still think he's a little overrated.
All right, we agree to disagree. There's nothing wrong with that. It's a thing.
All right, guys. All right, guys. What we're gonna do? You know what? Because this is gonna take a little bit longer. Because I got some videos I have to play here. So what we're gonna do? We're gonna take a little break here. When we come back, I want to talk about Ryan Clark from the Pivot on his comments about Tiki Barber. And then, of course, we got more NFL that I would like to speak on. And then LeBron James, he came out with his new podcast as well. Don't y'all go nowhere. You watch this first, and then you go see him. I'm just kidding. So I want to talk about that. And then I got to get into this Ringless Goat conversation. We always give the goats to the ones who got it first, but we got some NBA Ringless Goats that we have to talk about. But guys, thank you for watching. We'll be right back. You guys are watching the Sideline Speaks with myself, Brittany Jones, alongside Jason Collins and Kevin Walker, right here on Never Had It So Good Sports Media Network. We'll be right back.
CampBlyman.com is an opportunity for my big boys to come get some work. Let's put it all together. We built from the ground up. Our cliche is it all starts up front. Once again, start, stance, hand placement, hand separation, get-offs, counter moves, a little bit of everything. Polish up those skills before your middle school or high school season began. Just come work on your craft. Once again, CampBlyman.com.
You're inside Never Had It So Good Sports Radio with Princess Cooper, Tim Moore, David the Duck Riley, Jason Collins, Shoshana Cook, Brittany Jones, Travis McGee, Eric Scott, and Kevin Walker. We make it easy to talk sports.
We make it easy to talk sports. Sorry, I had to say that. Welcome back to the Sideline Speaks with myself, Brittany Jones, alongside Jason Collins and Kevin Walker, right here on Never Had It So Good Sports Media Network. All right, guys, I gotta get into this Ryan Clark situation. So as we all know, Saquon Barkley decided to go get his money elsewhere. He ended up signing with the Philadelphia Eagles. Just to give you a background, to his former team, the New York Giants. And Tiki Barber had a major issue with it. He absolutely had a problem with it. He went off on his own podcast and said, "You are dead to me." Saquon then responded and saying, he how can you say that to him? Because, you should understand. I'm trying to get the bag before I retire. New York didn't want to give it to him or whatnot. And it was a little back and forth. But then Ryan Clark from the Pivot came in and chimed in. I want you guys to listen to what he had to say. So just bear with me for 2 seconds. I'm getting the video up now. Here it is.
Congrats to Saquon. Saquon earned that deal in Philadelphia, what he had to go through in New York to get through this point, being franchise tagged last year. Now we're going to get to Tiki. Tiki taught me what I didn't want to be as a veteran. Tiki taught me how you don't make a young player feel welcome, how you don't make a young player feel like this could one day be his team. The way he made me feel as a young rookie and a second-year player, I said I don't ever want to be that dude. And he's continued to be that person. Like you said, he left football early, fully expecting to be on the Michael Strahan experience. But you weren't that dude. You also weren't liked and beloved like Saquon Barkley is. You weren't that sort of teammate that everybody rallied around last year. And here's what I do know. I know when I have a relationship with you, when I can joke. I know when I can tell one of the homies or some young man I mentor or a dude I'm tight with, hey man, you're dead to me, because he knows he's never going to be that. He knows the relationship that we've developed is way beyond the jersey that he wears. And don't try to backtrack it once you say it. Don't try to ingratiate yourself to the New York Giants fans who may feel the same way, who you said you're echoing, and then say it's tongue in cheek. Nah, stand on it. And when he calls you out, stand on it. And the one thing people like him taught me when I was in that Giants locker room is I'm going to have parties for the rookies when there's nowhere to go on the week they're trying to figure out if they're on the team or not. I'm going to host Bible study. I'm going to make sure you ain't using all your money at rookie parties. I'm going to make you feel like, well, you the OG, that's the way it's supposed to be done. And he never did that, at least as what I could see and the way he was to me as a player. And he's continuing to act the same sort of way in the media. And it's a reason people feel the way that he does, and nobody wraps their arms around him as a former player.
So I want to get your thoughts on this. Yeah, it was a little rough. I want to get your thoughts on this. Jay, I'm gonna come to you first. What are your thoughts on what Ryan Clark had to say about Tiki Barber?
Yeah, so that was my first time hearing that, and I'm kind of I feel like two things can be true in this situation. So when Tiki says you're dead to me, one of the bad things, obviously, about tweeting and X and stuff like that is it's very hard to understand the tone of it, right? Like, is he really going at him? Is he saying it as a joke? Do they have a relationship? Like, so I don't want to say that I understand Tiki's tone in this situation, because maybe he was just saying it in jest. I don't know, right? But obviously Saquon took offense to it, right? So I'm not going to kill Tiki for the tweet, because I don't really know if he was serious or he was just messing around. But I also, he also does. Go ahead.
It was a video. He said it.
Oh, he said it in the video? Okay. But I do think like what Ryan Clark was saying is true. Like, to me, Tiki does give off that vibe. Like, I don't think there's any question about that. So if Ryan Clark's saying like he made it tough on rookies, he wasn't a great teammate, he just is kind of a standoffish, he kind of gives off the I'm better than you kind of vibe to me. So I think all of that it could definitely be true about Tiki. But at the same time, I didn't see the video of what he said, but was he trying to kill Saquon? Was he just like messing around? Was he like just being a fan of the Giants? I don't want to make too much of a big deal out of that part.
So, Jay, when he said it, it seemed like he meant it. I'm gonna be honest with you. He walked it back, but it did seem like he meant it. And he was just like, "You better not go to Philly." And most of the times when somebody's joking, they smile, they laugh, somewhat in that nature. It didn't feel that way when you watched the video. At least I didn't take it that way.
Okay.
And when I watched it, I said, well, I'm curious to know what Saquon thinks about this. And then later on, after Saquon expressed how he felt about it, that's when he tried to say it's tongue in cheek. I was just joking. You can't take a joke. Unless you have a very dry sense of humor, I would take that as a joke, because there was nothing funny behind it,
right.
To me. But I get where Saquon is kind of coming from. I feel like they didn't have much of a relationship. I really honestly don't. I don't think they had much of a relationship in how Saquon responded.
Yeah.
He basically was like, stop acting like we've always been close. In reality, we've really never been close,
Right.
And so when you see me, you better be ready, basically. Not saying he's gonna physically harm him, but in other words, just saying, don't be fake in my face. If this is how you really feel.
Yeah.
I just think Tiki did go a little overboard because he is a former player. He should understand that, Saquon's a little older. He's 27 years old. He's a running back. In this day and age, it's a lot harder for running backs to get paid than it was during maybe Tiki's time. And the Eagles was willing to pay him. It's kind of like he's going home, although it's a little bit further from Philly. I know people want to relate Penn State and Philly together. It's a little bit further out.
Yeah.
It is the state of Pennsylvania. You're talking about like 3-hour difference or something like that.
Yeah.
But I don't want to kill Tiki too much. I just don't think he's the most relatable guy on podcasts. I don't. I can never relate to the guy. I don't understand him. I don't get where he's trying to come off. I agree with you, Jay. I think he feels like he's better than a lot of people. In my opinion, he comes off across that way. So I just think he needs to watch, especially if you don't have that relationship with that particular player. Just kind of watch what you say sometimes, because some people can be made offensive. Now, at the same time, maybe Saquon shouldn't be too sensitive at the same time. And just say, man, whatever. He's just being the podcast media person. Let's just move on. So it just felt like it was a little bit of history behind it. But as far as Ryan Clark, if Ryan Clark seems like he's kind of backing Saquon through his own experiences, that tells a lot. I've never really heard any other players say, you know what, Tiki Barber was that good guy. Tiki Barber had my back. That we hear a lot of these leaders or these older players get when they leave the league. So it's going to be interesting how this goes. But K-Walk, your thoughts on this?
Yeah, just listening to everything, man. When I first heard this, and Tiki Barber was talking about loyalty. Was that pretty much his loyalty?
Yeah,
really.
Loyalty, giant. Yeah.
If I was Saquon Barkley, I'd have checked. I'm like, are you serious about this? Is this tongue in cheek? Is this a joke? Because we get it. It's Giants, Eagles, but we talking about loyalty, brother. I would have taken a step further. I'm like, 8 months pregnant, and you left me. You left me away. I would have went there. Bam! I would have went there. That's only because you guys mentioned him about being a stand-up guy, being that man, and you got to look at that from that aspect of it. I'm just simply saying, come on, bro. I'm going there with you. Don't talk about loyalty with me. As far as on the football field, and that's where I'm going with it. That's what I would have went with it. Personally. So listen, the age-old saying, people who live in glass houses should not throw stones. So you telling somebody about loyalty and they getting paid, they're doing something good for their family by making this move. Come on now, Tiki. Come on, Tiki. Let's be real about this, Tiki. Let's be real. You're the last person I would come to talk to about loyalty, brother. I swear to you, brother. I leave that loyalty talk to someone else, man. Don't get involved in that conversation. Do never ever again engage yourself with the loyalty conversation. I'll leave it at that.
Okay, walk.
Ooh, wait a minute. I just got hot. They got hot in here.
Come on, man.
Wait a minute.
Walk. That's a mic drop right there.
This don't stand for Barber. It stands for Brittany or Barkley. We don't. But so what K-Walk said, this does not stand for nothing related to Barber. My goodness, that's a mic drop. If I could lift my mic and drop it, I would have. Ooh, K-Walk. Man, you went hard on that one. My response is like,
that's not even my rant today, ladies and gentlemen. That's not even my rant.
But you know what though? You right, K-Walk. Like, you talk about loyalty. He can't even stay loyal to people he's supposed to love and care for and honor and respect. So he has no loyalty whatsoever. So don't get on this young man about loyalty. It's not right. Especially again, New York didn't want to pay him. They didn't want to pay him at all. So where was the law? And Saquon has stayed there for as long as he could, and he has said, "I want to be a Giant forever." But at the same time, this young man, just like Tiki had, I guess you could say at one point, a family. So does Saquon. Saquon has a family. He's trying to take care and make sure his family
Right.
is okay. So where's the loyalty from the Giants to say, you know what? You have done so much for us, even when we didn't even put a team around you. You were the team, basically.
Were
So
the
let's
team.
go protect you and make sure that you're good, and also so that you could stay with us for the rest of your career. So they weren't loyal to him.
Nope.
So where's he don't have to be loyal to them. It is what it is. Whew, K-Walk. That got me.
Yeah.
Woo, boy.
I just-
Quick on that one.
I mean,
Uh, any final thoughts on this, Jay? Any last thoughts, or let's move on?
Yeah, the only thing I would say is like with some of the older players, Britt, is that like they just have to realize the NFL is different now. Like
So
it's not the NFL that they played in. There's more player movement. And, there's never really been loyalty from the team to the player. And now with player movement and the players have opportunity to make money, they got to take it. It's a short career. So I just think some of the older players just need to realize this is not the NFL you played in. Things are different now.
Absolutely.
Great
And
point,
real
Jay.
quick from our guy, KSAT from Simply Ball dropping podcast, he said, just like my girl Anita said, giving you the best that I got.
Yes, sir.
That's my
Yes,
girl
sir.
too. All right, guys, let's move on. Real quick, because I know we got a lot to talk about today in only a short amount of time. I just want to get your thoughts on Aaron Donald. Aaron Donald, defensive tackle for the Los Angeles Rams. I know a lot of quarterbacks are happy right now. Aaron Donald has decided to retire from the NFL after 10 years at the tender age of 32. So he's still fairly young. Just your thoughts on his retirement and his impact real quick before we move to the next topic. Jay, I'm going to come to you first.
Yeah, certified first ballot Hall of Famer. Arguably the best interior D lineman ever to play. I mean, some people might put Warren Sapp, at number one, but I mean, this guy is just absolutely phenomenal. I think he made the Pro Bowl in every season that he's been in the NFL. I mean, he's just unbelievable. I'm happy to see him get out while he's still young and still healthy. Like, you made your money. You don't have to hang around and get yourself all beat up. So congrats on a great career and enjoy your retirement. But yeah, certified first ballot Hall of Famer.
Yeah, a legend. Before he even decided to retire. Force in the middle. It didn't matter if you double team. And the crazy part is he wasn't the biggest guy in the world.
No.
Like, he was not the biggest for his size. But just an overall incredible talent. And I agree with you, Jay. First ballot Hall of Famer, no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And K-Walk, just what you just clapped to and what I just said, a lot of quarterbacks are happy. A lot of offensive linemen are happy. They no longer have to worry about Aaron Donald. But yes, congratulations to him. And I hope he continues to have amazing future endeavors. But K-Walk, your thoughts on Aaron Donald, his impact, and his retirement?
Yeah, and to add on to that, Britt, a lot of fans of opposing teams are happy as well that he's no longer there. I mean, the guy was just phenomenal. You guys touched on a lot of his accolades, man. Just as a 49er fan and him going up against, Aaron Banks and, a couple of our guards, our centers in the past. I mean, when you have to focus on double team and sometimes triple teaming this guy and then ultimately running away from him at the same time, that speaks volumes for, that guy. I mean, like you guys mentioned, he wasn't the biggest guy, but what he was he was a technician, man. He just was just a pure technician at what he did. He respected the game. He respected his craft. He worked on that to become, as best as he possibly could. He has a God-given ability. And what I like about him, man, what I respected about him, I should say, is that, he worked upon that and, to become even better than that. To when I heard the news, I thought it was fake news at first. Then I thought, it's one of those guys that who's going to say he's going to retire. Then, get the itch again. Maybe he doesn't want to go to training camp, that type deal. And then they come back at the latter part. But I think he's sincere about it. I think he's made enough money. He's doing commercials now as well. So I think he's going to be okay in that sense. And Jay, you mentioned first ballot Hall of Famers. I was kind of iffy with a lot of these new first ballot Hall of Famers, but he's for sure a first ballot Hall of Famer. And again, ending a lot of nightmares for a lot of opposing offensive linemen and quarterbacks as well, and a lot of running backs as well. A lot of running backs didn't want to go in that middle either. So yeah, just hats off to you, Aaron Donald. Congratulations. Didn't like you, but respected the heck out of you without question, man. It's impossible not to respect what your craft was all about and how much you took pride into making that something special, man. And then you're on a lot of people, and I don't know if I had it because I lost all of my stuff, but I believe I had him on my second team, all-time defensive team behind. I think I had like you mentioned, Warren Sapp, J, Minister of Defense, but that's a topic for a different day. But again, congratulations, brother. Well deserved on your retirement, and I know you're gonna get that first ballot Hall of Fame for sure.
Yeah, it's this year is interesting. One of the best centers retired and one of the best DTs retired. So Jason Kelce and Aaron Donald losing a lot of big time players this year. But I guarantee
that
you,
podcast going to come out. Laying it on the line, something like that. Don't cross that line.
That is interesting. Real quick, actually, I just added on it just now. Actually, it is regarding Aaron Donald, but just pick one player real quick for me. Out of these three guys, who would you choose? LT, Aaron Donald, or Reggie White? Just real quick. Doesn't even need to be a reason. Just pick and move on. Jay?
It's easy for me. LT. He changed football. So LT for me, and it's not even hard.
K-Walk?
Yeah, LT. Go.
I'm gonna leave that to you guys because y'all watch all three of those. I was a little young with LT. Was I even born when LT played? I don't even know. But I don't know if I was even born when LT played. I was born when Reggie White played.
We got it, bro. We're old. We got it, bro. We're older than you are.
All right, let's move on. March Madness, guys. It is March Madness time, one of the best times of the year for collegiate sports. For the most part, everybody sits down and watches almost every single game. And if you are at work, you try to catch it on your phone or some sort of mobile device if you can, as much as possible, or you always listen to the updates. But it is that time. Guys, I didn't really do the homework today, so that's on me. I'm not gonna lie, I didn't do it. But for you two, for men's and women's, if you have it, name at least 1 to 2, 2 to 3, somewhere in that range, teams as potential bracket busters. Teams that you be like, man, everybody's bracket just got jacked up, because it happens every single year for the men's and women's. We'll start with the men's first. K-Walk, I'll come to you first on this one.
Bracket busters. There are a lot here for me, Brett, on the men's side. I'm going to go with who stands out for me right now. Wow, there are so many. I'm not looking at my bracket because I think I had it down pack. I just did all 3 of my brackets yesterday. And I had a couple on here. I'm going to say that a bracket buster for me, I'm going to say NC State. I think what NC State has done, the 5 games in 5 days to win the ACC championship, to beat my North Carolina Tar Heels, by 8, convincingly, to be mind you. So I'm going to say they could be a bracket buster because I think they're a 10th ranked team for sure. What was the other team that I had too? I was so dialed into women's basketball, ladies and gentlemen. I never thought about the busting of the brackets of the men's side, but let me, if you don't mind, let me just look at my bracket real quick, ladies and gentlemen. I apologize. All right. I'm going to say, I'm just going to stick with NC State. NC State is a bracket buster. I think they can, they're not, they're a 10 seed going against a 7 seed. So I'm going to say them. I have to look at my bracket, ladies and gentlemen, so I can give you more. So, Jake, let me go to you, Jay. And then if you could circle back, that'd be great, guys. I just want to look at this.
Okay, because K-Walk, I'm going to steal something you said last night on the women's basketball show. I think you said James Madison. I know you mentioned
James
Madison.
Yes, that's what it was.
But
that's
you
what
mentioned them. So I wrote them down as my bracket buster.
All right.
Because you said they're 31-3. You said they're used to winning. So I think James Madison, Britt, might pull off a couple of upsets in this one. And then I wrote down another team, Britt. I'm not going to lie to you. I haven't seen them play one game this year, but Dayton, they're a 7th seed. They traditionally can play good basketball. I don't know if they're going to set the world on fire, but maybe they'll win a couple of games and maybe get in the mix and blow up some brackets. So I got James Madison and Dayton as my 2 bracket busters on the men's side.
Yeah, real quick. I'm looking at it right now. I did circle some stuff earlier. You can't even see it on that list. I don't know if you can or not. I had NC State. That's the only one I had. I seen them beat K-Walk, unfortunately, your Tar Heels in the in a championship, and they were a lot better than what I thought they would be. And everything that you said, they were 8 points is fairly significant in college basketball.
Yeah.
So I kind of feel like they're a little. I don't know. I feel like they ranked them or they seated them a little low. They should have been seated higher, but that's understandable. So I'm gonna say NC State as of right now. Women's, that seems to be the talk of the century right now. Women's college basketball, everybody is loving it right now. Everybody is into it. Like everybody, we all agree. We probably know more women's college players way
For sure.
more than we do
For sure.
men's college players. K might be a little different because I know you into the men's side as well.
And
mainly because
Drake was the other team. Drake was the other team, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes.
Drake,
but who are your women's bracket busters? Jay, I'm gonna start with you.
Okay, sorry.
So for me, Britt, this one's pretty easy. I think Tennessee at a 6 seed. I don't have my bracket in front of me, but I think they're in Portland 4. At a 6 seed, they have a bona fide superstar in Rickea Jackson. She gets left out of a lot of the conversations when people are talking about the best players in the country, but Rickea Jackson is probably going to be the 3rd pick in the WNBA draft. She's phenomenal. We saw Tennessee take South Carolina right to the wire in that SEC championship. Should have won the game, quite frankly. So I think Tennessee, if they can get hot, play good basketball, they're going to surprise a lot of people. And then, Britt, my other one I would say is Ole Miss. Now, the problem with Ole Miss, they are in South Carolina's region, so it's going to be tough, but they defend. They're going to make you play basketball for 40 minutes. They're going to defend like no other. So if you're not a team that's used to that aggressive style and defense in your face for 40 minutes, Ole Miss will give a lot of people some problems. I think they're a 10th seed, but I definitely think they're going to blow up some brackets as well.
Yeah, I think Tennessee is special. I think they could throw a lot of people off. I like them when I'm watching them. But K-Walk, who's your women's bracket busters?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Sacred Heart over Presbyterian tomorrow night at 7 p.m. And then I think they upset University of South Carolina as well. The Lady Gamecocks. Just kidding, ladies and gentlemen. Had to shout out my daughter's alma mater, Sacred Heart. But I had to shout out my daughter's alma mater there, man, for sure. But all seriousness, I mean, I'm not saying that this team could beat South Carolina, but I think they can give them a run for their money. And I think that's the winner of an Albany 1, the winner out of North Carolina and Michigan State. I think that those 2 teams, I got my money. Well, I'm not got my money, but I think that I think the North Carolina can win that game, and I think they can give them havoc. I think in Syracuse is another one, and I think they're in the bracket. I think they're in Albany too, if I'm not mistaken, or I think they're in the same.
They might be in Portland
1, 3.
Portland 3. Yeah.
So I think they can make some noise as well. And I do like Jackson State, man. I like Jackson State as well. I think they're coming here with a chip on their shoulder. They're an HBCU team. They're 31-1, and they want to make some noise. They're not used to losing, so I'm going to go with those 3 teams. So I'm going to say, the winner of North Carolina, Michigan State. Again, I'm going with North Carolina, so I'll say North Carolina, not just because of the men's team, but just because I just like the matchup there, and I think both teams are overly rated or underly rated, however you want to look at that. Underly rated, I should say. Overly rated, I should say. However you want to look at it. But anyway, also,
get it together.
Syracuse, I know, right? I don't know how you word that. I think they should have been rated. They should have had a lower seed or higher seed, I should say. I'm thinking about the numbers and I'm thinking about the rankings at the same time. So I'm going to say they should have been a higher seed. So they should have been like a 4 or 5 type seed there. So let me clean that up. And again, Syracuse and Jackson State. I think Jackson State can pull off that upset in the first round. So those are my three teams, heading into the women's tournament.
Yeah, the women's is interesting because normally the ones and the twos, the higher seeds usually get to the Final Four. Unlike the men's, you're just not sure. But this year things might change just a little bit because there is a lot of talent just across the board in women's college basketball, and the competitive nature is just at an all-time high, and I'm here for it, and I cannot wait till this stuff starts.
Yeah, Britt, to your point, Britt, I think I saw a stat that said like 10 out of the last 11 champions or 9 out of the last 10, something like that, were like a 1 seed. And I think, or 1 or a 2 seed. The only difference was LSU last year winning as a 3 seed. But with the women, we don't see, or at least up to this point, we haven't seen some of the upsets that we see on the men's side. But that could all be changing as the game keeps growing and expanding.
Absolutely. All right, guys, let's move on. I want to get into LeBron James. As we all know, or if you don't know, LeBron James is looking to start a new podcast with JJ Redick. I think it's called Mind the Game, I do believe. So go check them out as well. Again, after you check us out first, make sure you subscribe to us first, then go subscribe to them. But anyway, and they talked about the most influential players in the history of the NBA. So I do have a clip here on what LeBron said, and I want you guys to watch it as well. And then when we come back, just let me know if you agree or disagree with what he said. So give me 1 second as I pull it up. Here it is. Oop, nope, that's the wrong one. Wait a minute. Nah, that wasn't it.
One thing I have learned.
Wait, that wasn't it there. I'm messing up. What's going on? It's the pressure. Uh-oh. Turning into Dak Prescott. That's not good.
Oh, here we go.
I'm just kidding. Here it is, guys.
Long history of great players that have impacted the game. And you can see a lineage between different skill sets, right? Michael to Kobe, right? You can see that. I don't know that there's been a player that has influenced the game more than Steph. And you can certainly point to like Harden for sure in that era, Damian Lillard for sure, but you're right, it started with Steph.
When it comes to influence, since I've been watching the game, the most influence on the game, and obviously we know what Mike did for the game.
Sure.
But Steph and Allen Iverson are the two biggest influential guys in our game since I've been watching and covering it. One, they're 6'3", 6'4", if you want to.
Steph's not 6'4".
If you want to look on the back of a basketball card, you're always a lot taller on the back of the basketball card. Allen Iverson and Steph, they were just so relatable, and kids felt like they could be them. They were guys that was not always counted on. They were small in stature, and they just defined the odds. So you got AI, who's like unbelievable crossover, cornrows, arm sleeve. We wear arm sleeve. Everyone wears an arm sleeve now because of Allen Iverson. And he's going in the trenches, laying it up over bigs, whatever the case may be. And now you have Steph, who's shooting over the Empire State Building. It's like those two are the two most influential when you say the game, how they changed the game, and the kids, and like those are two guys that you just wanted to watch every single night.
I have an arm sleeve because of Allen Iverson. No bullshit.
Listen,
no bullshit.
One of my tattoos is because of Allen Iverson.
You're on mute, Britt.
Oops, my bad. I guess to make sure I wasn't talking during the video. You heard what Allen Iverson said. I'm sorry, LeBron James said on who he thinks is the most influential NBA players. Do you guys agree, or do you think there's other players that came before them or even after them? K-Walk, I don't know. For some reason, just looked like to me you had something to say about this. What are your thoughts on this?
I just think this is a generational conversation. I just think you go back a little bit and you ask Magic and you ask MJ, as LeBron alluded to. who mentioned Larry Bird. I mean, you can go back further, and those guys. I think it's a generational thing. I mean, after Allen Iverson, when Allen Iverson came into the scene, and then that's when LeBron was watching basketball. I'm not saying LeBron was watching basketball when MJ was playing, but LeBron wasn't that. I don't think he was old enough to know it, but he's probably starting to get into it. But those two guys that he mentioned, Allen Iverson and Steph Curry, are just guys after him. You have to go back and ask me and Jay, ask Jay and I, who was their most influential guy. Jay played point guard at a high level in high school. I was just one of those guys who was just an athlete playing basketball. I was okay at it. I wasn't really good at it, but I wanted to be like Mike. Back in the day, I wanted to be like Mike because it was MJ. But I mean, if you're asking LeBron, then that's what it is. That's what the most influential person or players to him are. But we talk about generation. We're not talking about all time. We're talking about generation. We're not talking all the time. We're talking about generation. No, just to use my but they were, and to be all serious, they were influential for sure, influential for sure, because you like you mentioned the cornrows, the sleeves today, LeBron, Steph Curry shooting the ball as soon as they get out of the car or off the bus or whatever they had, they feel like they have that type of range. So definitely, I'm not arguing with that by any stretch, but I don't think we're ever going to. More and more I hear about these different debates, I don't think we're ever going to get to the greatest of all time, who's the most influential player of all time, but they are definitely up in that category for sure. But I think we got to get a panel of different guys and ask those guys who was most influential to you. Who did you pattern your game after? Or who were you what sneakers were you trying to wear, or what outfits were you trying to wear? How did you want your hair to look when you weren't playing the sport? So I definitely agree with those. It's been a debate of all for a long time. So I definitely agree with LeBron there, but I think we have to take it a step further and next to different generations for sure.
Yeah, K-Walk, I actually agree with you. Because from LeBron's perspective, during my time, the most influential guy was Allen Iverson. He came in prior to him, guys were wearing suits. AI came and was like, no, I want to wear what I want to wear. I want to be myself, which led to the NBA lightening up. And he took a lot of criticism and a lot of flack for that as well. They came at him hard, and I think they fined him every single time he would not put his suit on.
Yeah, right.
So he brought that hip hop culture to the NBA. That's why you see guys now with all these tattoos and the braids and the one arm sleeve and the headband even. I had, just like with JJ Redick and LeBron, I also had a one arm sleeve because of Allen Iverson.
My son wears a sleeve to this day.
Exactly. So but he did also impact the game. He came in with that crossover that they eventually had to ban because it was just beating everybody and nobody could seem to stop it for whatever reason.
And it was a carry. It was actually a carry.
So. Oh my gosh.
Which a lot of these guys did. Which is legal compared to what they're getting away with today, though.
True.
All the stuff they do now, you gonna come at
that's
me
what
with
I'm saying. No, that's what I said. That's why I correct.
Oh my gosh, don't knock this man.
I knew what your response was going to be. That's why I said what I said.
I mean, it was other things. He did transform that guard position at his size and the things that he did on the court, if people can remember. I know a lot of people forget for some reason on what this man did, but he did transform that guard play at his size. So, but Steph, I agree with Steph, the 3-point game primarily and his impact. But I think we also have to give credit because he did mention Mike. But I think we forget other guys that came before them who impacted Michael Jordan. That was Julius Erving. Julius Erving was his favorite player. And he came out with the Converses and he was smooth with the fro and the dunking and all that highlight type stuff. So, and then if you go before them, it was Bill Russell. They did it in a different manner, but they had influence. Maybe they was more civil rights activists and things like that. But Jay, your thoughts on this?
I'm gonna go a little bit different here, Britt, because I mean I know like we can talk about generations, and I agree, obviously, like that the point you guys made about that is true. But like if we're asking the question like who's the most influential, like I think we can come to an answer. And for me, like that question starts and ends with Michael Jordan. Like I just don't think there was anyone that was more influential in basketball than MJ. And I know those other guys have had a big impact on the league, but Jordan is still selling more sneakers now than all the current basketball players that have sneaker deals.
And signing them.
People start cutting their hair bald because MJ made it cool. Like the shorts, the little thing slightly below his knee.
Yeah.
Like there's not, to me, it's not even a debate. MJ was by far the most influential. I think you got to give Magic and Bird a lot of credit too, like pulling the NBA out of tape delay in the 80s. Yeah. They deserve a ton of credit. Steph, yes, I think he's changed the game in terms of like the 3-point shooting. And then like the other thing I'll say, like I think influential, like it depends on how you define it. Like, are you just talking about on the NBA culture? Because when I think about influential, I'm talking about like globally. Like, can you cross over? Like, do you have the impact not only on NBA culture, but to little Timmy living out in the suburbs? Are you influencing him as well? And I think Steph has done that. Like he crosses all races, colors, everything. Like Steph crosses all that. So I think he certainly is influential. People put AI in there and deservedly so, but I think AI's influence was more limited. I think his influence was more on NBA culture, more on guys in the NBA playing basketball. I don't know if AI had that same type of crossover appeal that a Michael Jordan, that a Steph Curry has. I'm not sure if AI had that. I'm just not sure if.
Me, Jay?
I'm serious.
Man,
like I think
China right now, you see people with his number 3 jersey and the headbands, the little kids in the suburbs. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, I just
AI made hip hop okay amongst everybody.
I think his influence was
hip hop because of his influence.
I just think his influence was a little bit more narrow. I'm not sure that.
Absolutely.
I'm just not sure that everybody in America was on AI like that. I guess I'll say it that way. Yeah, I think it was more hip hop culture. I think it was more guys in the league. I'm not sure if Timmy out in the suburbs was cornrowing his hair because of AI.
To the suburbs.
I'm not sure.
Yes, I ended up moving to the suburbs at a very young age. So yes, Timmy out in the suburb was rocking the cornrows with the number 3 jersey. And I'm like, what are you doing? Oh, I'm AI with the Reeboks, with the answers and the questions. That's all you seen. It was answers and questions growing up. At the time, there was really no Jordans was like your age at that time when I was growing up. When it was me, it was and1s and it was AIs. That was it. And then Jordans, as we get older, now we like, oh, I got to get the Jordans. So yes, the biggest influential I will put is Michael Jordan because he's signing players to this day and so forth. But Allen Iverson's impact, I think he had a greater impact than Steph Curry. Steph Curry, to me, has an impact as far as the 3-point shooting game and just transforming that part of it.
I think Steph Curry has literally changed the way that basketball is played. And I don't think you could say that about any other player, including MJ. Like the way Steph Curry has transformed the way that people actually play basketball and the value of the 3-point shot and the spacing of the floor. Like, I don't think any other player has done that.
And that's fine, but you cannot knock Allen Iverson's influence on people.
It's not a knock. I'm not saying he wasn't influential. I'm just saying I wouldn't have him in the same category as MJ, and I would have Steph above AI in terms of influence. That's all I'm saying.
See, to me, AI had a lifestyle influence. He influenced people's lifestyles. Yes, Steph may have influence and changed the game, but AI influenced people's lifestyle. That's the major difference.
True.
So he had a huge impact.
I'm not saying he didn't. So I'm just saying I got Steph ahead of him in terms of influence.
I'm just kidding. All right, well, it is. We're gonna have to agree to disagree on this one. All right, so we got to move on because I got 1 or 2 more topics, and Jay, you got to take over because we are way past my time. And I'm still putting AI ahead of you. I don't care what you say. No, I'm just playing. All right, so we're gonna get into the NBA top 5 ringless goats. We always talk about the GOATs with the rings, with all the accolades and this, that, and the third. And a lot of these players, they have accolades. They just didn't have the team around them to win the big thing. So I want to know your top 5 ringless NBA GOATs, not NFL, not MLB, NBA GOATs. K-Walk, I'm gonna come to you first on this one.
Oh wow, you know what? I didn't do my homework on this, but I have Ringless Goats, right? All right.
I'm
Let
come
me
back to
see.
you.
Please do. I'll be
All right, I'm gonna come back to you, Jay.
All right,
Don't say nothing crazy. You already said
I
something
got
crazy.
10 names.
I'm just playing.
So I'm gonna narrow this down to 5 as we go.
Wow.
And this, do you want them in order or no particular order, Britt?
Just give me 5, no particular
I'll
order.
give you 5. I got
okay.
Charles Barkley. I think obviously what Charles did in Philly and then getting close in Phoenix, but never being able to get over the hump. I mean, thank Michael Jordan for that. That Charles never got a ring, but I definitely think he's in the top 5 of ringless, great NBA players. I'm gonna put Karl Malone in there as well. I mean, this guy's third on the all-time scoring list. Was a great player. Again, because of Michael Jordan, was never able to win a championship, but he's in my top 5 as well. This is where it gets hairy. I'm gonna go Chris Paul. He's the last standing traditional point guard. I mean, this guy's a great. I mean, I know we're remembering Chris Paul like the way he is now, but go watch some young Chris Paul film. This guy was absolutely phenomenal. I know he's still playing. I don't think he's going to get one this year, but I got Chris Paul in there. I'm going to go with John Stockton because Stockton and Malone. I mean, it's hard not to have those two guys together. Outstanding assist man. Again, thanks to MJ, he couldn't get one, but he's my 4th. And then at number 5, man, there's a bunch of great names to choose from, but I'm going to go off script here a little bit. I'm going to go Carmelo Anthony. I think Melo, sometimes when we're talking about really good players, sometimes Melo is an afterthought. Melo was a bona fide NBA superstar. So I'm going to give Melo some love, and I'm going to put him at number 5.
Oh my goodness, with the list. All right. I'm gonna go next. No particular order. I agree with you, Jay. I'm gonna go with Charles Barkley. I wasn't sure if I wanted to put him on the list, but I had to give him his credit. I mean, my goodness, what he did with the primarily is what he did with the Phoenix Suns. He accomplished a lot with the Sixers, but when he took the Phoenix Suns to the championship, to me that was an incredible run. I got to go with the mailman as well. Just an incredible overall player, like you said. He couldn't get there because of MJ. And going against MJ is nothing you can really do. You purposely left this guy out because I already know how you feel about him, and that's Allen Iverson. My goodness, I already know how you feel.
He's on my list, Britt. He's on my 10.
I mean, at his size and what he was able to do, he carried that 2001 team. He didn't have nobody else on that team. Nobody else. I think he averaged almost 30 points per game or something like that. I think over 30 points per game. The next guy was like 12 points per game, and that may have been Aaron McKee. Yeah. I mean, a lineup with Aaron McKee, Eric Snow, Mike Geiger, Larry Hughes, and a few others.
Yeah. You're right. Britt.
And carried him to that. I don't know how he did it. And then won the first Lakers game. So when they shouldn't have won none. So Allen Iverson absolutely goes on there, and his influence, the reason why Chris Paul and D Wade wears number 3. Jay, I'm just playing. I'm just playing. But this is where it gets tricky. After those 3, this is where it gets tricky. I decided to go a different route. I put Reggie Miller on my list. I love Reggie Miller. I love his game. He was a killer. My goodness. And don't challenge him, Spike Lee. Don't ever challenge this man again. He will beat you. And it was tough because, again, similar to Allen Iverson, same thing. They just never really put the team around him in Indiana. But my goodness, he's an amazing player on both sides of the ball. And then my last one, I was torn. Then I don't know what. I thought about John Stockton. But I said, let me give somebody else some love. K-Walk, I know you don't like Stockton. It is what it is. Let me give somebody else some love. And I was like, let me give the other assist guy some love. And that's Steve Nash. I actually had Stockton on my list, but I'm going to go with Steve Nash on this one. And it was hard because I had Vince Carter and Tracy McGrady up there. Carmelo Anthony was also up there with me. I didn't have Chris Paul up there. Although I love Chris Paul. I love his game. He just didn't go up there to me. But I said, you know what? Let me show Steve Nash some love. because he was an amazing player. What he did with the Phoenix Suns, his assist was just amazing. His IQ to me was amazing. So that was my top 5: Allen Iverson, Reggie Miller, Karl Malone, Charles Barkley, and Steve Nash. K-Walk, who's your
Yeah,
top 5?
listening to you guys say what you did, say what you said, and the plays that you have, it actually sparked some guys that I had on my list. And no particular order. We do have some overlap, ladies and gentlemen, and not because I listened to them, but they did say Reggie Miller. I was writing it down right as Brittany was laid him, so I put Reggie Miller there. Another guy, another guy I think who is, if he had been on a different team, man, obviously I think, and he was the human highlight film, and that's Dominique Wilkins. I'm gonna go with Dominique there. I really loved his game, as much as him and MJ went at it back in the day. I love Dominique. I went with AI too, Britt. I put AI down on my list. I had to go AI. How can you not go AI?
Like, that's the point.
Talking about the most influenced guy. We talked about him. I know you're not a big fan of him, but AI. Was that?
I'm not a fan of AI.
I know.
I mean, AI is all right with me. I don't have no.
All right,
Jay, go back and watch his film, and then you're gonna come back with another answer. You forgot. Go ahead, K-Walk. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. And I think that you guys, I'm surprised you didn't mention this guy. It's Pat Ewing, man. I think Pat Ewing was one of those guys that he got to those guys. He got them into the championship. He got them to the conference final after conference, Eastern Conference final. He just ran into some dogs, man. He ran into MJ constantly, and then and he ran into the Dream, in the one championship. I think it was 1995. I think that was the whole OJ thing going on, but that's another topic. I think number one, I'm going to agree with you guys, that's the round mound of rebounding. That's Charles Barkley. So I went with Reggie Miller, Dominique, AI, Pat Ewing, and Charles Barkley.
All those guys were on my list of 10 except Dominique. I didn't have Dominique, but I probably should have. No love for James Harden, anybody? Or Westbrook?
I'm sorry, Jay, you breaking up.
Look,
No, definitely not for me.
Yeah, I guess James Harden maybe, but he's not in my top 5 at Ringless Goats. He's just not there. I still have quite a few number. I might even put Westbrook up because I like his game. I really like his game. You just really got to find the right team to put around Westbrook. I just like he did.
How many teams are left? What you got? And ride the bench and just never play.
Don't call me out like that.
No, that was a rhetorical question, but I'm just simply saying.
I know.
He had his.
No, I think overall, I just like his game. He gave. His effort is relentless for me. Wasn't the best scorer. Like, he didn't shoot a whole lot, but he could score the basketball. He's going to give effort on the rebounds. He was a triple double threat for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
But anyway, guys, these are our top 5. I still can't believe Jay left AI off his top 5 Ringless Goats. The disrespect, my goodness.
Much love to you, AI.
That's almost like me leaving MJ out of my GOAT conversation to me. It's the Ringless Goats.
That's a bad comparison.
It is the same to me. Okay. I'm trying to make a point here. But all right, guys. Before we go on break, I got one more thing. So just the last couple minutes. I'm sorry, Jay. I know I'm way over my time.
Nah, you're good, Britt. You're good.
But I need you guys to tell me who you think. This is a surprise one. Okay. It's the dunk of the year. This has been a major thing lately because we had 2 amazing dunks in like the past week, 2 weeks, week and a half or so. And boy, my goodness, whoever said might have to change one of y'all face of the NBAs after you see this dunk. Let's see what happens. But hold on, I'm going to play this video and then you guys tell me who you think has the dunk of the year so far. Here we go.
One thing I have learned in the last 24 hours. Rockets, Green. Oh my goodness! On Simon's dome! What?
Up top, Şengün comes up there to deny him. The pass though to intercepted. Oh! Cocking, rocking, and knocking it down and landed with a pose.
A couple more angles.
score and only had one shot attempt in that first half. Another turnover for Utah. Edwards gets it back and threw it down. And one from the rafters.
The Ant-Hitters hurt his hand on that too. That was ridiculous.
Immediately looked down at his hand after the dunk. It's an and one opportunity, but if he can't shoot this free throw.
All right, guys, real quick, who do you think has the dunk of the year? My goodness, Jay.
Can K-Walk go first on this one? I'm still thinking. I'm still trying to see.
Really?
You need me to go first? I'll go first.
No, that's a no-brainer for me. I mean, it's obviously the Ant-Man. I mean, no disrespect to Jalen Green, but Ant-Man not only hurt, I mean, he threw it down. I mean, he was coming down. I don't even think he dunked the ball. I think he just threw it down and just came at the end and hurt his hand. He hurt his off hand. He wasn't even hurt his dunking in. That's how powerful he was. And then John Collins is sitting there like, I don't know if he couldn't get up because his ego was hurt or if his head was hurt or what it was, but that thing was vicious, man. And that might be one of the best dunks I've seen in a long time. Not the greatest. I'm not going to go that far, ladies and gentlemen, but out of these two, it's clearly for me, Ant-Man. Just look at the after effect. Look at the after effect of that. And I just think you have to factor that into the equation for sure.
K-Walk, sorry, Britt. You said it. Like, as I was gonna say, that dunk is more vicious for sure. And then like just the imagery of the guy sitting there holding his head and everybody on the sideline is looking like, oh my gosh. But I think Jalen Green's dunk was better. Like, I think that was a better dunk because to your point, Ant-Man didn't really dunk it. He threw it into the hoop. He didn't really. So for that, I think his looked better. But I think Jalen Green actually has a better dunk because he actually dunked it and Ant-Man threw it into the hoop. So I got to go Jalen Green.
I can't
I'm with. It's hard to argue. Yeah, you can't argue with that at all. But I'm about visuals. And the visuals of that Anthony Edwards one and John Collins in his head. That's what did it for me.
You're right.
That's the one that's what did it for me. And you still heard the dunking sound. So you couldn't really see his hand hitting it, but you heard that sound and he heard his hand. So when I seen John Collins do this, I was like, oh yeah. That got me. That was it right there.
Yeah.
All right, guys, because I'm well over my time, like always. This is just normal. I just need to stop apologizing for going over my time. But thanks, Jay, for always being patient with me. All right. I had to get that last one in.
It helped, because I don't have to come up with as many topics.
Keep it real, Jack. Keep it real.
Then we're gonna change that. I'm just kidding. But no. We're gonna go into break. Jay gonna take over, and then we're gonna continue, of course, talking about having more fun and talking more sports. Again, thank you always for supporting us and watching us. Please subscribe, like, and comment to our YouTube channel at The Sideline Speaks. We're also on X at Sideline Speaks, and anywhere you could get your podcasts, Apple Podcasts and Spotify. We know Google Podcasts is dwindling itself out. So please like, subscribe, and share. Once again, you guys are watching The Sideline Speaks with myself, Brittany Jones, alongside Jason Collins and Kevin Walker, right here on Never Had It So Good Sports Media Network. We'll be right back.
CampBlyman.com is an opportunity for my big boys to come get some work. Let's put it all together. We built from the ground up. You know, our cliche is it all starts up front. Once again, start, stance, hand placement, hand separation, get-offs, counter moves, a little bit of everything. Polish up those skills before your middle school or high school season began. Just come work on your craft. Once again, CampBlyman.com.
You're inside Never Had It So Good Sports Radio with Princess Cooper, Tim Moore, David the Duck Riley, Jason Collins, Shoshana Cook, Brittany Jones, Travis McGee, Eric Scott, and Kevin Walker. We make it easy to talk sports.
All right, welcome back to the Sideline Speaks. Brittany Jones, Kevin Walker, and Jason Collins. All right, guys, we got to talk a little bit about Justin Fields because we've been talking about him in previous weeks, wondering where he's going to go, speculating, guessing teams that we thought he would end up on. Well, we got the answer now. Justin Fields is going to Pittsburgh. K-Walk, what were your thoughts on that move by the Steelers?
First was wow, and then I immediately wanted to get the breakdown of the trade to see what was given up, by the by the Steelers. And when I found out it was a conditional 6th-round pick, wow, for next year, I'm like, wow, really? You know me, I can't believe that. And there was rumors out there that saying that they turned down better offers from other teams who were quarterback, who already had a quarterback in place. And I think, Britt, you had said like a couple of days before that there were rumors that he was going to go to the 49ers, rumors that he was going to be the backup to Brock Purdy. I said, that's perfect. I said, that's perfect. What we got to give up? And that's why I said, first I said, wow. And then immediately went to the trade details. Steelers just did that. They were Steelers. They stole this one. They stole this one from the from the Bears for sure. I think it was so disrespectful to Justin Fields how the Chicago Bears handle this. Last year they brought in DJ Moore. I get that, and then as I alluded to earlier, right now they have a ton of talent. They have Swift, they have DJ Moore, they have Kellen as well. They have Everett as the tight end for sure. So you bring in all this talent and then you surround him by an unknown as far as Caleb Williams coming out of the draft out of USC. We'll see how that works, but definitely, going to the Pittsburgh side of the things, I think it's a great fit though, for without question. I know I mentioned in our thread, it was cute. It was cute, because when Britt, I didn't think about him coming to the 49ers, but when Britt posed that, I'm like, interesting. This might be something sexy. But nonetheless, I think it's a great it's a great fit for the Steelers because of the fact of the matter is you have Russell Wilson who's a vet who's looking to prove himself. He's got him at bare minimum 1.2 million, and then you bring in Justin Fields, and all you're giving up is at best or at worst or however you're gonna look at it is a 4th-round pick, and then you're gonna have a young man. We're learning from Russell Wilson. That's if everything goes according to plan. And that's what I'm talking about, the Steelers plan. The Steelers plan are to have Russell Wilson start next year and then have Justin Fields be their future quarterback. I think Justin Fields is coming in and with a chip on his shoulder said, listen, I'm not coming here to back up. I want to be a proven starter. I'm a proven starter.
Right.
So he's going to challenge Russell Wilson each and every play on every single practice, for sure, to let him know that, listen, I'm the youngster. I'm the new sheriff in town, if you will, from an NFL standpoint. I know they brought you in for 1.2 million vet minimum, and I'm only a 6th-round pick, 4th-round pick at best. But I'm coming here to prove that I'm the future. I'm the now, and I'm the now and the future as well. So to answer the question, I said all that to say I like it for the Steelers, and then they got some talent around them as well. They got Pickens, they got Warren as running back, they got Najee Harris as well, and that they always have that defense. They got Micah Fitzpatrick, and they brought in Queen as well. So overall, it's a really good fit, really good move by the Steelers as well.
Britt, what are your thoughts?
I think the biggest thing, Mike Tomlin. To be honest with you, I think Mike Tomlin will check him out, and he didn't bring him in there for just no reason. So I think he brought him in there to compete with Russ. To be honest with you, I think Mike Tomlin still has some belief in him, and I think that's where he needed to go to. He needed a fresh start in a new area. With a team that can help him and have some belief in him. I don't think Chicago believed in him whatsoever. I don't know why, because I do still think there's some talent there. I just think he needs to be surrounded by the right coaching staff. That he didn't get that. He wasn't allotted that in Chicago whatsoever. But I agree with K-Walk. I think Justin Fields is going there with a chip on his shoulder. He said, Just like Russ should be going to Pittsburgh with a chip on his shoulder to prove. I think they both have a lot to prove right now, and I think they're both in the right situation. And if it does work out with Russ, I think it is a good idea for Justin Fields to sit back and really learn and really learn from someone who got there before. I know we've seen Russ on the back end. He struggled the last so many years, but at one point in time, Russ was one of the top quarterbacks in the league. So I think he could mentor and teach Justin Fields greatly. I am, I think I kind of see why they got the 6th round, 4th. I think the biggest thing there, I think it was 2 things. I don't think Chicago wanted to keep him in the NFC, which is kind of interesting to me because I know a lot of NFC teams, 49ers being one of them. I heard the Eagles, but I feel like the Eagles are always involved in something just to see what's out there rumor wise. And a few other NFC teams were interested. I kind of felt like they didn't want to keep him in the NFC for whatever reason. So maybe they did see something in him. They just don't want him in Chicago anymore. And then I think another factor was that you have to pay him next year. This is his 5th year. So next year is his 5th year option of $25 million. So I think that's why the Steelers were also able to get him for that 6th round, 4th, depending on how much he starts. But I think he has a chance to start. Look, I'm with you. I really do think he has a chance to start. If Russ don't do what he's supposed to do, if he's coming in with that same attitude that those players had with him when he was with the Broncos or Seattle, you have a lot of people that when they win the Super Bowl, his day is winning the Super Bowl, Seattle on the defense, that say, I didn't like Russ. A lot of them are saying that if he has that same attitude, I think Justin Fields could start. I could really end up seeing that 6th round being a 4th round pick. And like I said, I think he's in a better situation, better coaching staff,
absolutely
better front office, better team surrounding him. I know Chicago improved their team, but it may take some time for that team to gel. Better defense. I think this is a much better situation. I wouldn't be surprised if Russ just finishes this 1 year. And next thing you know, the Steelers are like, you know what, Justin Fields may be our future.
Yeah, and it's interesting that you guys said you think he has an opportunity to potentially start because, like, the word coming out of Pittsburgh is like it's not a quarterback competition. That it's, or at least that's what's reported. That it's Rush's job. Justin Fields is going to be the backup. It's not a competition. Like if I'm Justin Fields, that bothers me a little bit, right? Like this is sports. Like you're telling me if I come in and I'm playing better than you, that it's not a competition. So I just thought that was a little eyebrow raising that they came out right away and said, "Oh, he's going to back up Russ." That they're not competing for the job. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I wonder if that's actually true.
I'm gonna be honest. I just feel like it was to limit the controversy. I think that's what it was, to limit the media going back and forth, and then that gets into the locker room, and that maybe gets into the players' heads or something like that. I think that's all that was. I think internally it's going to be a quarterback competition once they hit training camp. Let me see what both you guys got. They just don't want to get out to the media because the media get carried away with it.
And it should be. Like it absolutely should be. And I think if Russ does win the job, I think for Justin Fields, it could be an opportunity to learn under a guy that obviously is incredibly disciplined, studies a ton, right? So I think there could be some things that Justin Fields could get out of it as well if he does end up sitting behind Russ.
But will he get a fair chance though?
Yeah, and that's the question. I don't know. I don't know, K. What do you think? You think it's going to be a competition, or do you think they got Russ as the guy no matter what?
Yeah, I think it's not going to be a competition. I mean, Fields is going to make it a competition, but the Steelers are going to say no, there's no competition because they're going to go back onto their initial statements is that there's no competition. So they're going to look like fools if they say there's no competition. Russ is our guy, and then all of a sudden, at the end of the training camp, after the 3 preseason games, Justin Fields is starting week 1. But I guarantee you that they're not going to start Justin Fields by any stretch. I don't care how, unless there's a major injury, knock on wood, Justin Fields is not going to start no matter how better he's going to play in training camp and preseason as well.
So do you think if Russ plays bad, then they'd make a move, K.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I think you're going to see, like, you give him the first 3 games or a 3-game stretch. You're going, he's definitely going to be under the the microscope without question. And if they're not winning, if it's not producing wins, even if he plays bad, I think they're going to give him a pass if they're winning, even though he plays bad, because again, I guess like I said earlier, they do have a really good defense, and do have some weapons around and a really good running game. So if he plays bad consistently, Jay, and they're losing at the same time, then you got to go to Fields if he's showing that he can be the starter of that team.
Go ahead, Britt. Were you going to say something?
No, I was just going to say, I think going into the start of the season, Russ will be the starter, but I think some point in time, I think things will be changed over to Justin Fields eventually. I think Russ is still a great, I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm so back and forth. I'm just trying to figure out. He still has a lot of, like, I still see Rush. Like, we've seen flashes of him in the Broncos during his last year, flashes. I think my issue is you're dealing with a lot of young players. How relatable is he going to be? I think he's a fantastic guy off the field. I really do. But he might be a little bit standoffish, and I think that comes across differently, especially to this younger generation. Yeah. And Justin Fields is more relatable. He's their age for the most part. I mean, we'll see. I have Justin Fields coming in, K-Walk, not prior to the start of the season, because I do agree with you. They say it's not a quarterback competition. I do feel like it's more for a media purpose to avoid all that controversy, like I said earlier. But I do think eventually they're going to say, you know what? He's the younger guy. We see a lot of potential in this young kid. We want to commit to him more than we want to commit to a 36, 37-year-old Russ who may be on his way out.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, it's going to be fun to keep an eye on. Like, that's a great division, and it just got more interesting. So that's going to be a lot of fun to watch. All right, y'all. Let's I know we touched on some of the NCAA stuff earlier in one of Britt's segments, but I want to drill down on it a little bit more here. So let's start with the women. And the nice thing about the tournament, we don't have to give you our winners right now. We'll have another show next week after some games are played, and then maybe we can kind of give you our winners then. But I want your final four at least right now, guys. So on the women's side, who's going to be those last 4 teams standing once it's all said and done? K-Walk, I'll start with you. Who you got?
Coming out of Albany 1, I mean, you got to go with not just the favorite in that region, but the favorite in the entire tournament, and that's the Lady Gamecocks in South Carolina. Albany 2, even though they're ranked 3, I think they're going to be playing with a big chip on their shoulder, and I think Angel Reese and those ladies are going to come out, ready to go and ready to fire up. They want to, defend their title here. So I'm going to go with LSU, in Albany 2. Excuse me. I'm listening to Britt too much. Albany 2. Portland 3. I'm going to go with USC. I like that combo between, I think it's McKenzie and Juju Watt there. I think they're going to be too much for that field. I know that, and I got them playing. I got them beating UConn in an Elite 8 to get there. So I know a lot of people aren't too high on UConn, but I'm going to give UConn. I think they're going to, as long as they play healthy and Paige Bethers is healthy and she comes out to play, I think they're going to make a deep run. But I think it stops at the Elite 8. Portland 4. I'm going to go with Texas. I'm going to go with Texas here. So I got Texas, South Carolina, LSU, and USC.
All right, that's a good 4. That's a strong 4, K-Walk. Britt, who you got?
Same thing. Albany. Did I say it right that time? Albany.
You did, got it.
Thank you. I'm not from Albany, guys, so
that's all neither am I, but
but Albany won. No ifs, ands, or buts. I'm going South Carolina. Rise of a new dawn. Call it what you want. They're too strong, too deep. Even if Cardosa, she's not going to beat her the first round. I don't think you could beat them. Portland 4, I have Texas. I like Texas as well. I think ours is virtually the same. K-Walk.
Okay.
That's a shocker. But I got Texas. I like Texas. I have them beating Stanford, although I do think that's going
I
to
do
be a
too.
very tight, close game. And that could really go either way, to be honest with you. Portland 3, same thing. USC versus UConn.
Okay.
I was a little back and forth with this. But I ended up going with USC because I like when Juju Watkins wasn't performing well. The one game,
The team involved.
her
Yeah.
teammates picked it up big time. And that's what I was just like, whoa, okay, great.
Yeah.
So I needed to see that. And they sure enough performed very well when she was struggling. And then Albany 2 was the tricky one. You know, you want to go with Iowa because of Caitlin Clark is a monster. But LSU was tough. They're tough. And, you know, LSU beat Iowa, I believe, already, if I can recall. They beat them actually last year and this year, if I can recall. And I just don't think they could overcome LSU with Angel Reese down low and their mid. Okay, well, you look like you're reading something.
Oh, look. Yeah, I am reading something. I'm reading
I'm like, wait, I thought you was sounding like, wait a minute.
No,
So
I'm
I'm
looking at my
gonna
bracket to see who I had beating Iowa. So that's to your point, though. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
but no, I think I gotta go with LSU. I have LSU and Iowa. I love Caitlin Clark. But I think LSU is gonna be too tough. They're just relentless. They gave South Carolina a tough time, so I'm going with LSU.
All right, so mine is very similar, Britt. I got South Carolina, obviously, and Albany 1. My Albany 2 is different from you guys. And I know this is a change from what I said like a week ago, whenever Britt asked us who we thought was going to win it. And I said LSU. But this is on brand for me. You guys know I changed my mind a lot. I got UCLA coming out of Albany too, Britt. I think they're going to – I think
last night.
And I like LSU. Like, I think they're – first 5 and their one off the bench 6 is as good as anybody's first 6 in the country. But that's all they are not deep at all. And if they get into foul trouble or if they get into an up and down game, I just think the lack of depth might end up hurting them. So I got UCLA coming out of Albany too. Like you guys, I got USC in Portland 3. And I got Stanford in Portland 4. I think they're going to beat Texas. I just like the size of Stanford with Cameron Brink. And they have I can't remember her name right now, but they got the other girl who's really good inside as well. They got 2 really good bigs. Yeah, so I think Stanford comes out of Portland 4. So I got South Carolina, UCLA, USC, and Stanford as my final 4.
Jay, so you got UCLA beating Iowa?
I do. I think they're too big for Iowa. They got a 6'7" center. I just think they're too big. And they have really good guards too. So I got them beating Iowa. If I asked you, K-Walk, who's the biggest threat to South Carolina in this tournament, what would you say?
It would be that team in South Carolina. South Carolina are the biggest threat to South Carolina. To be honest with you, I don't see anyone beating South Carolina other than themselves. You know, to be perfectly honest with you. I think if they come in and they come focused and they, you know, not, as we used to say back in the day, not smell yourself, Jay, if you will. Just be who you are. Play together. You know, let Dawn Staley do her thing, listen to the coach, execute everything, just be on point, because you know if you do that, no one else in the field could beat you. But to make it a little bit more interesting, Jay, going down the stretch, if we do see it, I would say it would be in the championship game, and I would say it would be USC. I think USC would give them a really tough problems with, like Britt and I kind of alluded to it, is that, JJ Watt, she's arguably the best player in the country. I know you got Caitlin Clark, guys, I'm a big fan of hers, but I just don't think she has enough around her. I don't think she's going to be able to do it.
That is true.
I don't think she's going to be able to do it this year. And you know much I like her, but I think Juju Watt, if she can continue, if she's on, then they're tough to beat. If she's not on and she's able to get everyone involved and everyone else is able to do their thing like they did in the Pac-12 championship against Stanford, I think they're difficult to beat. So with all that being said, it's going to take a minute for it to happen if it comes to fruition. But I'm going to say USC is probably the one team that I can honestly say that can truly beat South Carolina.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be tough because, like you guys said, they're big, they're deep. Dawn, I mean, super well coached. Like this is not a team that's going to beat themselves. I actually think the team that could potentially beat them, I don't think they're going to have to play them because I think LSU is the biggest threat to them. They've played them good twice this year. I think it's hard to beat a team 3 times, especially when the games go back and forth. That South Carolina might catch a break if LSU can't come out of that really, really tough Albany 2 bracket. But I'm going to say I think LSU is the biggest threat, but they might get by without having to play them. But Britt, what say you?
No, I'm with you, Jay. I'm going to say LSU as well. I actually agree with K-Walk. I think South Carolina, they could beat themselves because when you watch their games, it's like they're on all the way. And then eventually they allow the opposing team to make a run to catch up. And they've done that quite a number of times over the course of their games. So it could get a little hairy. And then all of a sudden, Dawn Selly would maybe call a timeout to regather themselves, have them run some plays. And then next thing you know, they take back off again. So I think LSU is on that revenge factor. You beat us 2-3 times in the last couple of years or so, and we ready to get back. And then you cannot tell me, although it was a little dust up, but it's some competitive, some competition there, and some like, are we getting you back? Now we're not going. I'm hoping they don't fight back, but we want to show it on the court. So I'm actually excited. I actually hope. And then it is LSU versus South Carolina, although I don't think LSU is going to get there, if I'm being honest with you, because of what Jay alluded to. The depth is an issue. But if they're focused, if LSU is on, they're a tough out for anybody.
Yeah, no question. And I agree, Britt. I think the one thing that scares me a little bit about South Carolina is sometimes they can go on these like offensive droughts where they'll go 4 or 5 minutes and won't make a field goal. Now, defensively, they're good enough to kind of overcome that. But if they run into a team, K-Walk, like a USC who can score the basketball, that could get really interesting if they have one of those offensive droughts. So that'll be fun to watch. We'll give you our championship picks next week, ladies and gentlemen. Let us see how these first couple rounds play out. Let's jump over to the men's side real quick. And K-Walk, Britt and I were talking pre-show before you jumped on. Go ahead, Britt.
Hold on, Jay. I'm sorry. We had a Lawrence Jacobs. He says LSU for life. So looks like we know who he's going for.
Yeah. Hey, I'm not mad at it. I'm not mad at it. I'm not mad at it at all. Let's jump over to the men's side. And K-Walk, Britt and I were talking pre-show before you jumped on, and we were just being honest. I said, Britt, I haven't watched a ton of men's games this year. I've watched North Carolina a little bit, Duke a little bit, UConn recently. So this is a little bit more of a crapshoot for me. But K-Walk, out of the 3 of us, you're probably the most locked in on the men's side. So who's your men's Final Four?
Yeah, my men's Final Four. It all depends on what bracket I have, ladies and gentlemen. I did 3 brackets, but I'm going to go. I have actually. I don't have it in front of me, ladies. Let me go with my actual one here. Britt, if you want to fiddle around with yours, and I just want to just go to my bracket real quick. Just so I can
about 8 brackets, ladies.
But I want to go. I want to go to my money bracket. I want to go to my money bracket, if you will, because I got some. Because sometimes you can get lucky with this. But I'm going to go. I'm going to go with this one, ladies and gentlemen. I am going to go with this one. So
K-Walk fun. K-Walk be like, Britt, go ahead as he continues to talk and look for his bracket. Here's my bracket right here.
All right. So I got coming out of the the East. I got UConn coming out of the East. All right, coming out of the West, I got my Tar Heels coming out of the West. I got Houston coming out of the South, and out of the Midwest, I have who do I have here? I have Purdue. I have Purdue out of the Midwest meeting in the championship game. This hurts my heart, Tar Heel fans, but I'm going to go with UConn and Purdue, and then do I? You don't want me to give the winner yet, right?
Yeah, let's hold off.
All right, let's hold off on that. But I do have another bracket where my Tar Heels going.
Okay, Walker, are they all number 1 seeds?
No, UConn is number 1. North Carolina's number. Yeah, they are number 1 seed. That's why I went with that one.
Okay.
But I got one it's because it's not going to be all number ones like generally we see with the women's.
Yeah.
But I have another one. But that's the one where I went with my heart. But next week I'm going to give you the one with my head. Okay, that's my heart. I'm gonna give you
Yeah, it's hard, like it's funny, K-Walk, because I have those exact same 4 teams written down as my 4, but I just went chalk because I don't know. Like I honestly don't know. So I just said, you know what? I'm going to go chalk here and take UConn, Houston, Purdue, and North Carolina just because I'm not really sure. The men's side has kind of been crazy all year. I think it could be wide open. So I went straight chalk on that one. But Britt, what say you?
I guess I'm with you, Jay, but I went with Auburn in the East. I decided to go with Auburn. Let's see. I think they're a pretty talented team from what I could see. I agree. It's so tight in this, especially after I seen NC State beat the Tar Heels in the championship. That threw me off a little bit. But in the West, I went with the Tar Heels. I just think if the Tar Heels are on, I think they're one of the best teams in men's college basketball. I really do. When they're hitting on all cylinders. Midwest, I decided to go with Tennessee. I'm gonna take a chance.
That's a good pick
because they're only 10 I see. No, I'm just playing. I'm just playing. That's old school, y'all. That's old school.
Yeah.
But no, I went with Tennessee there. And then for the South, I did not know which way to go. I feel like NC State is underrated in that South. I really do. Houston is just that good. So that was another thing. And then I think you get a little bit of a risers. Like Kentucky is in there. They always do well during tournament time. And they got some really good young freshmen on that team if they're healthy. But I'm going to go with this one. I am going to go with Houston. It might change, though. This one might change. I just think Houston right now is just the dominating one as of right now.
You reserve the right to change your mind. So
let me give you my head. My head final 4.
Okay.
And that's I got Iowa State. It was a number 2 seed.
Okay.
I have Mississippi State as my number. It's a number 3 seed or 8 seed actually. They're the 3 seed. I got Houston and I got Purdue on the other side as well. That's my head team right now because there is Carolina. I don't have Carolina. That's why I said I went with first one. I went with my heart. Second one, I went with my head because it's March Madness and we know how that works.
Yeah, and it's hard to believe that all 4 1 seeds are going to be sitting in the Final Four. Like I don't see that happening.
That's
that's what I got on my paper. All right, before we go to our rant and Ballin, Britt, this came up last night on the women's basketball show, and I got to slip this in because Coach Riley had a segment about things that make you go and I brought this up because I said K-Walk is a North Carolina men's basketball fan. He's a Florida Gators college football fan. He's obviously a 49ers NFL guy. He's a Miami Heat NBA guy. And he's a Yankees baseball guy. And that just made me go, like, how did K-Walk arrive at these teams? Because there's really no structure to it. There's no loyalty. That's right, Rich. There's no structure. There's no loyalty.
All right, we'll
to
see in a minute.
We'll see in a minute.
That's what I mean, K-Walk, to a city.
K-Walk, the floor is yours, man. Explain yourself, K-Walk.
All right. Well, first of all, let me just say I moved around a lot. As a young kid. My father was a truck driver, so I moved around.
Okay.
But anyway, to start off with how I became a Tar Heel fan. I started off with the Tar Heels. That's the team that I've rooted for since 1982. I remember, and the way I became a Tar Heel fan was I remember I was starting to get into sports, and I said, okay, I want to start rooting for sports, but I don't want to root for a horrible team. I don't want to root for the best team either. I don't want to be that, that bandwagon guy. So I opened up a newspaper one day. This is straight, swear to God, ladies and gentlemen. Opened up a newspaper and I said, who's the number 3 team in the country? Because that was my favorite number at the time. And it just so happened to be Michael Jordan's Tar Heels. So I said, I'm going to be a Tar Heel fan, going forward, no matter what. And, as they say, the rest is history. Second team was the San Francisco 49ers. I became a 49er fan because I was sitting there watching and I became getting into football, and I'm sitting down there watching football with my father. And my father, God rest his soul, was a diehard Philadelphia Eagles fan. All right. So I'm watching the game. It was the Philadelphia Eagles versus the San Francisco 49ers. It was Joe Montana, Jerry Rice, John Taylor, Roger Craig, all those guys back in the day. And I'm sitting there watching the game. My father's rooting for him. And I'm quietly just sitting back, enjoying what the 49ers were doing, going up and down the field, passing the ball. Because I wanted to be a receiver. I just wanted to catch the ball.
Yep.
And I saw Jerry Rice. And this is back in the early mid-80s when I'm not sure what the day was. And again, as I said, the rest is history. Okay. Next team, Florida Gators. The Florida Gators, 1995, 1996. I was coming out of I was at Lackawanna, and I was going through that whole recruiting process again. And I'm watching college football. And at the time, I was just a fan of college football. But I fell in love with Steve Spurrier, the Fun and Gun, Danny Werfel, Ike Taylor, all those guys. And I said, I want to be a Gator. And, I told my coach, I said, listen, please, I don't care I don't want to hear about any other teams coming to me. I just want to be a Gator. I just love everything about them. So unfortunately, as you know, that I went to Temple, but I still fell in love. I fell in love with the Gators.
Okay.
So stay loyal. So 1995, 1996. So you do the math there. As far as what's the next team? The next team. No, actually it's the Yankees.
Okay.
Because I transitioned from Philadelphia in 2000 to New York and in 2001. So at the time, it was a Subway Series between the Yankees and the Mets, and I came up and it was a big frenzy. And I'm coming from Philadelphia. It's a city. It's not as big as Philadelphia. I mean, New York. But I'm getting into it and I'm listening, and everything is the Subway Series, Yankees, Mets, and the crosstown rivalries and all that good stuff. So I fell in love with the Yankees. I'm gonna pick this team, the Yankees. I just did my homework on the history of it. We all know the history of the Yankees. So since 2001, I've been a Yankee fan.
Okay.
And then the Heat. Growing up, Jay, you and I were Chicago Bull fans.
Yeah.
And after Mike and Scotty left there, I just kind of followed wherever Pitt went. Pitt went to Houston, and Pitt went to Portland. So I followed him. Then after that, I stopped watching basketball. I stopped being a fan. Then LeBron came into the picture. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, I'm a Heat fan because of LeBron James. So LeBron James came into the picture, and he did the collaboration with D Wade, Chris Bosh, and all those guys. So I fell in love with those guys, man. I said, they're going to win title after title after title. So I'm going to jump on board. Yeah, the Heat were at the time. I was a bandwagon Heat fan at the time. So after LeBron left, again, I told myself, I said, no matter what happens, I'm going to continue to stay a Heat fan. And sure enough, LeBron, this is why I don't like LeBron today, because he's like a girlfriend you broke up with that you weren't ready to break up with. And I haven't got over it since, but I'm still the diehard Heat fan. So that's the history of my fandom there, ladies and gentlemen.
There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. K-Walk's Fandom Explained.
Jay, I apologize to you for always getting on you about jumping. That's all I'm going to say.
Come on, Britt. I don't jump.
I apologize to you, Jay.
Britt.
I got to stop getting on Jay.
What team have I jumped from? What team have I jumped from?
I got to stop getting on you, Jay.
Britt, what team have I jumped from?
And I got to stop getting on you when the team wins and you go to that team, Jay.
Britt, when do I jump? After explaining what I just explained to you, what did I jump?
K-Walk, I am talking to Jason Collins.
Exactly. Because I'm loyal, Britt. I'm loyal.
You are loyal.
Britt, when was the last time I jumped, Britt?
Let's move on.
Yeah, exactly.
K-Walk, I'm glad you explained that though, man, because I had been wondering about that for years. Like, how did K-Walk become a Florida Gator fan? Yeah. And now I know. Now I know. All right, let's do our rants, guys. Every week we want to shoot off a rant. You get 1 minute. The floor is yours. Say whatever's on your heart, whatever's on your mind, however you want to go. K-Walk, I usually start with you, but since you just had the floor,
please.
I'm going to start with Britt. I'm going to give you a little break. I'm going to start with Britt here. Britt, what you got for us this week?
Jay, you're going to have to go first. I don't have one.
Okay. Let me check my notes. Okay, I got something this week. The Phoenix Suns. Y'all know a couple weeks ago, I told you guys I was back on the Suns. I was hopeful. I was excited. I said, let me get back on this bandwagon. I'm off of it. I'm back off of it. I watched these bums play the other day. They play basketball like it's a pickup game. They play like they don't care. They just run up and down the court. They take bad shots. They play absolutely zero defense. in a game they really needed to win. They played the Milwaukee Bucks and Giannis sat out. That was a game they needed to win to stay above the cut line to be in the play-in games. And they come out there just playing like it's a Saturday afternoon in a gym sometime in the summer. I'm done with the Phoenix Suns. I'm done with Kevin Durant. I'm done with Devin Booker. I'm done with Bradley Beal. I'm done with the Phoenix Suns, ladies and gentlemen. That's it for me and the Phoenix Suns. Throw my pen down, Britt.
Brother.
I'm done with those guys. The floor is yours, Britt.
Jay, you're getting upset, but it's just like, do I believe you? Because we know you. I know I just apologize, but I take that back. We know you're gonna jump.
No, I'm done with him, Britt. It's over. It's over.
Remember, you was just a Nets guy, and prior to that, I forgot who you was with, and then then you switched to somebody else after that, and now, okay, all right,
it's over. It's over between me and them.
Durant guy. He's a Durant guy.
You're okay. All right. Oh, so you was an OKC guy too. Okay.
I was not anymore. I'm all for Durant.
All right, but he'll be back. Don't worry, he'll be back. All right, it's my turn. You know what? I don't have really too much negative to say today. I was going to say this Howard Eskin thing because he gets on my nerves so bad. But I'm gonna bypass that, and I'm gonna shout out my WNBA GOAT, and that's Miss Maya Moore. It has been announced that she is going to get her jersey retired by Minnesota. And I'm so happy for her. I'm so excited for her. I'm so proud of her. Just a legend to me in the game at such a young age. And she pulled the Barry Sanders and retired crazy early. I think she's considered the most winningest basketball player in the history of the game because she has won multiple times on every single level and have dominated on both sides of the court, offense and defense. And she was just an amazing skill player. And although she's only a couple years older than me, I looked up to her. I'm not gonna be honest. I followed her from high school to UConn to the WNBA when she played in Minnesota. Just an incredible career, and even what she did as far as just being an activist and things like that. So, Maya Moore, congratulations and kudos to you.
Good stuff. Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, Walt, what you got for us, man?
Yeah, I'm going to stay with what I had last night, Jay, on the show, and that's the these 8 teams that that opted out of the NIT. I know a lot of people call it the not important tournament.
Yeah,
that's what NIT stands for. But I think when you look at these big name teams, or these big name programs, Indiana, Memphis, Mississippi, Pitt, Oklahoma State, St. John's is one of the names that sticks out for me the most because I think you have the biggest name there is Rick Pitino, and not allowing these guys to continue to continue their college basketball career because there are seniors out there who aren't going to play, and who aren't going to play, beyond this level for the most part. But they want to play. A lot of these seniors have come out and said that, listen, I want to continue to play. There's a tournament on hand, and we know that the NIT right now is struggling. So they need these big name guys to go out there. For the most part, it's the best of the rest, if you will. So go out there and help this NIT because the NIT has been part of college basketball for a long time. And I know your feelings may be hurt because you were on the bubble or you were the first 4 in, first 4 out in that situation, but you weren't invited to the big dance. But this is a dance nonetheless that it's historical, man. And you can go out there and still, make a name for yourself, make a name for your program as well. So it just sad to see that, these programs that I mentioned, especially led by Rick Pitino, who's a big name in itself, won't be participating in this event. And there's a great one going on right now with Georgia and Xavier in the NIT, ladies and gentlemen. So check that out if you're not doing anything else. But this is one of those this tournaments that even though it's not the big one, it's significant in itself. It's relevant.
Yeah.
It's relevant.
Go ahead, Britt.
I was gonna say, K-Walk. That these players don't understand. If you want to get to that next level, they're watching every step that you make, every decision you make. And they're looking at like, how do you handle this situation? Are you gonna sit back, complain, or are you gonna be like, I'm gonna go out here and compete to the best of my ability and trying to win NIT level championship? Because these NBA scouts and stuff, they're looking at you, the G League scouts, international, overseas. They're looking at every single game that you play, including in the NIT. So if you don't play, that's just less film that's out there about you.
Great point.
And like you said, even the NIT can make you a household name. So go out there, just play, develop your skill set, and hopefully you get to where you want to get to versus complaining.
Yeah, I think it really sucks for the seniors, man. Like if the coaches or the teams, the universities opted out, because like you said, most of these guys, this is it. Like they ain't going to the NBA. Like people don't realize how hard of a league that is to get into. 98% of these guys, it's over, or they'll go play overseas or something like that. So
or go into or jump into the transfer portal.
Yeah,
so guys like that. I want
the opportunity to just play. You know, I think that's regrettable. They'll regret it years down the road for sure. All right, let's do who's balling real quick. Then we're going to get out of here. Every week we want to shout out a team, a player, a coach, somebody that's just absolutely getting it done. K-Walk, who you got for us this week? Who's balling?
It hurts me, and my Tar Heel fans may hate me for this or dislike me or cut me off from this, but I'm going to go with the NC State Wolfpack, and that's hard to say as a Tar Heel fan because they're right down the road or right up the road or you're right across the road, however you want to look at it, depending on what direction they are. But I'm going to go with the NC State Wolfpack men's basketball team. I mean, to win 5, the second team to only do this in the history of the game is that they won 5 games in 5 days and won the ACC championship against a number one seed in North Carolina, man. So hats off to those guys. You know, they show true endurance, man. It's true endurance, and that's why I have them as a bracket buster going forward. So NC State Wolfpack men's basketball team was absolutely balling.
All right, good stuff. Sure. I know I didn't pick his dunk earlier today when we did the dunk comparison, but I got Ant Edwards as the guy who's balling just because of that ferocious dunk and the aftermath and the imagery. So even though I didn't pick him over Jalen Green, Ant Edwards, I'm picking you for this segment. Anthony Edwards, absolutely balling. Britt, did I steal yours?
You absolutely darn sure did. What the heck? You wasn't even worried about the man. Now you gonna pick him. Yes.
We can do a double dribble. It's legal tonight.
You know what? I'll switch it up. Before I go, I want to shout out, and I do apologize if I cannot pronounce your name. But I want to shout out. This is from an earlier conversation that we had. Yurka said Final Four. It looks like this person is UNC Creighton Auburn in Florida.
Okay.
Florida's going to be a tough one. They just lost their big center. That's that leg injury. So Florida's going to be a tough one. But I do like the other 3, though.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with what K-Walk said because like we said earlier, K-Walk is the one that really followed the men's the men's college basketball this year. So we're going to go with what K-Walk said. So there you go. Thank you for that, Yurka.
Yeah, appreciate
it. If we mispronounce it, please let us know. But back to my who's balling. I'm gonna switch it up. I'm gonna say every player in an NFL free agency that got pizzade.
Okay.
Show me the money, Jerry. I mean, players where I was looking like, how the heck did they get that? But I give respect. This is what you play the game for. This is what you work hard for. Regardless of how I feel about your talent or not, you deserve the money. Hopefully you can take care of your family. Players like, I think he's talented, but he did lose it a little bit. Jerry Jeudy, I think it was a little bit of an overpay, but Jerry Jeudy, you got paid, my man. Go spend it wisely. So much respect to you. You guys were balling. And I hope
and speaking of Jerry's world, Jerry is. You check out the salary cap space that they have. I see why they didn't do anything. Jerry, send me your Zelle, man. Just send me your Zelle. And I'll hook you up if you need something. Man. I need something. All right, for sure, man.
Wait a minute. For everybody who's watching right now, we are going to create a GoFundMe and honor the Dallas Cowboys because they need all the help they can get.
Y'all just don't understand. Okay? The Cowboys out here playing chess while everybody else is playing checkers. Y'all wait for the move.
Play that video for you.
Wait for the move. Wait for the chess move. It's coming. It's coming, Britt. Wait for the chess move.
Maybe bring back out that Dallas Cowboys video again.
Nah, don't bring that back out. Don't bring that back out. All right, K-Walk, we got to get out of here, man. Tell the people where to find you, and if there's, I know what you're looking forward to, basketball, but go ahead and let the people know.
Yeah, definitely. March Madness, ladies and gentlemen, without question. Nothing more to be said about that. Where you can find me is on Facebook, Kevin Walker, Instagram, Kevin.Walker142, X at Kevin Walker 142. And you can catch me tomorrow night on Sports Talk with K Walk and E. Scott. Never Had It So Good Sports Radio, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Wherever you get your podcast, check it out. We had a great one. Our good buddy K Sap, who we had on last week, was on. Great segment there, ladies and gentlemen. Please check that out. And we got some good ones, good stuff for you tomorrow night as well. Again, Sports Talk with K Walk and E. Scott. Never Had It So Good Sports Radio, 7 p.m.
Good stuff, K-Walk. You guys can find me at Jason Talk Sports on all social media platforms. And yeah, basketball, and more basketball this week. So can't wait for both tournaments to get going. So I'm looking forward to that. Britt, what you got for us?
You guys can find me on Instagram and X at Brittany Monique. It's at the bottom of the screen. Also, subscribe
Yes.
to our YouTube channel at The Sideline Speaks, and also share, please. We would greatly appreciate it. But I'm looking forward to, excuse me, March Madness. That's that time. March Madness, basketball all day. And I do want to check in on Aaron Rodgers to see how he feels about not being considered for VP anymore, but that's a whole nother conversation for another day. I had to throw that out there. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding, guys. But no, for me, it's all about March Madness right now.
All right, good stuff, y'all. That was a fun show. Ladies and gentlemen, please hit that subscribe button, like it, share it. We're growing, and everything you can do to help us, we definitely appreciate it. We'll be back next Tuesday live at 7 p.m. So for Brittany Jones and Kevin Walker, I'm Jason Collins. We'll see you guys next week.
You're inside Never Had It So Good Sports Radio with Princess Cooper, Tim Moore, David the Duck Riley, Jason Collins, Shoshana Cook, Brittany Jones, Travis McGee, Eric Scott, and Kevin Walker. We make it easy to talk sports.